Phoenix Nights. Chapter 166. The Genius Barracks was located in the deepest part of the Azure Dragon Institute, completely separated from the outer division. Lin Feng, Long Xiu, Yan Gan, Xian Yuanzhan, Xiao Yafei, and the rest who had excellent results in the new disciple assessment had successfully joined the Genius Barracks. A group of people headed to the Genius Barracks to report. The Genius Barracks was located at the highest peak. How long has it been? You're already as fat as a ball. I heard there's a kitchen thief in the Azure Dragon Institute recently. Could it be you? Lin Feng glared at the Fire Qilin. The Fire Qilin pouted. Your damn devil beads swallowed all my God force. Of course I have to eat and drink to replenish my energy. Lin Feng's mouth twitched. He didn't believe a single punctuation mark in the Fire Qilin's words. It was obviously a glutton, yet it made it sound so fresh and refined. Lin Feng only wanted to say to the Fire Qilin, "You're really shameless." Lin Feng, what are you mumbling behind us? Xiao Yafei turned around to look at Lin Feng, who was lagging behind. Lin Feng smiled. It's nothing. The Fire Qilin also obediently shut its mouth, following behind Lin Feng. Everyone felt a little strange that Lin Feng had such a pet following him. Huang Linger asked. Lin Feng, what kind of pet is this? Why haven't I seen it before? Lin Feng blushed with shame. This was a divine beast, a Fire Qilin. In the Tianwu continent's 3,000 continents, there was probably only one. Moreover, it was a Fire Qilin that had shrunk to 1 meter in size. Of course you haven't seen it before. Ayo! The Fire Qilin growled at Huang Linger. Obviously, Huang Linger's way of addressing it had provoked the Fire Qilin's dissatisfaction. Looking at the Fire Qilin's ferocious appearance, Huang Linger's face paled. This little thing didn't look like a threat, so why was she so afraid? Huang Linger was also baffled by this point. Soon, the group reached the top of the mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there was a large platform that looked like it was carved out by a blade. This was the Genius Barracks encampment. On the platform were layers upon layers of palaces. At this moment, many senior students had gathered at the entrance of the Genius camp. The older students also looked curiously at Lin Feng and the others. The Blood Dragon Gang is here! At this moment, someone shouted loudly. More than 20 senior students rushed over from afar. All of them were wearing blood-red robes. They were the elites of the Blood Dragon Gang. The person in the lead was a handsome young man. It's the 9th elder of the Blood Dragon Society, Su Hao Tseng. Someone said in surprise. Su Hao Tseng had an extraordinary position in the Genius camp. Not only was he powerful, but he was also a Spirit Array Master. In the Azure Dragon Institute, a Spirit Array Master's status was one level higher than others. The Blood Dragon Gang's people looked coldly at Lin Feng's group after they arrived. Senior brother, that guy is Lin Feng. A member of the Blood Dragon Gang pointed at Lin Feng. Su Hao Tseng glanced at Lin Feng and revealed a sinister expression. The people of Wind Snow School are here. At this time, another commotion came from afar. More than 10 female students walked over, led by 2 extremely beautiful women. One of them was Su Zimo's cousin, Leng Qiushuang, while the other was Shui Ziao. Both of them were upper echelons of Wind Snow School. The Wind Snow School only recruited female students, and was also one of the 5 major forces in the Genius camp. Look! The Drizzle Building's people are here! Someone shouted again. A group of people walked over from afar, and the one in the lead was a woman with a sword. That woman had picturesque features, a delicate figure, creamy skin, and rippling eyes. Such a delicate beauty, but her origin was extraordinary. This woman was called Zhou Yingying, and her brother Zhou Xiu was the founder of the Drizzle Building. The Wild Tiger Gang's Yuwen Qinxing is here! Someone shouted again. Yuwen Qinxing had participated in this year's assessment. As the leader of one of the 5 inner courtyard teams, Yuwen Qinxing had lost to Lin Feng. However, this didn't make him feel discouraged. On the contrary, it ignited his fighting spirit. The Lightning Heaven Sex Zhao Wu and the others are here. Someone pointed in the distance. More than a dozen older students were approaching. The leader of the group was Zhao Wu. Zhao Wu was tall and burly, giving people a visual impact. There were many groups in the genius camp, big and small. But the most powerful groups were the Blood Dragon Gang, the Wind Snow School, the Drizzle Building, the Wild Tiger Gang, and the Lightning Heaven Sect. These 5 forces were not only established by the students, but they also had the support of the various clans and forces of the real Wushu country behind them. It was the first time that all 5 groups had come on the day of the Genius Camp. "Haha, Brother Lin, welcome to the Genius Camp," Yuwen Qinxing said with a smile. "Brother Yuwen!" Lin Feng clasped his fists. "So this is Brother Lin? Old Zhao, I've heard a lot about you." Zhao Wu laughed and walked over, as if he knew Lin Feng very well. "Lin Feng? The Blood Dragon Gang's Su Hao Tsung." The 9th elder of the Blood Dragon Gang, Su Hao Tsung, also walked over and greeted Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, I heard that you train in sword techniques. You can come to my Drizzle Building for an exchange. I have 72 types of sword techniques here," Zhou Yingying said. "Lin Feng, welcome to the Genius Camp." Ling Qiu Shuang also walked over. The Genius Camp's 5 big groups were trying their best to rope in Lin Feng. None of the students found it strange. Lin Feng had defeated the 27th ranked Huang Fuyu of the Mountain River list. Naturally, he was the center of attention. To be able to recruit Lin Feng as one of their subordinates, it would definitely be a huge boost to their own power. "Greetings, senior brothers and sisters." Lin Feng clasped his fists and replied politely. "All right, everyone, make way, the new students still need to report." A loud and clear voice came out. Following that, a man who looked like an iron tower walked over. Seeing this man, many students shrunk their necks in fear. This was the head instructor of the Genius Camp's martial arts practice courtyard. All the students of the Genius Camp had suffered at the hands of this head instructor. This was to the point that the head instructor of the Genius Camp, Feng Gang, was given the nickname of Black Rakshasa by others. "This is the head instructor of the martial arts practice courtyard," Yuwen Qinxing whispered. Lin Feng nodded. "Follow me." Feng Gang glanced at Lin Feng and the others, then turned and walked inside. "Let's talk another day." Lin Feng clasped his fists and followed behind Feng Gang with Long Xiu and the others. Many people started to disperse. "Senior brother, Guezi Fei, I'm afraid that Naylan Kun's disappearance is related to this brat," a member of the Blood Dragon Gang whispered to Su Hao Tsung. "I already know about this matter. Tomorrow, invite him to the Broken Enchantment. I will personally talk to him. It's best if he understands the situation, otherwise." At this point, a cold killing intent appeared in Su Hao Tsung's eyes. Chapter 167. Lin Feng and the rest followed Feng Gang to settle the check-in procedures. From today onwards, they would be training in the Genius Barracks. There were 3,000 students in the Genius Barracks. All of them were powerful, and this place was a place for crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Furthermore, some of the students were extremely low profile, and did not participate in the Mountain River List rankings, but that did not mean that they were not strong enough. The Genius Barracks had the most complete training system, including the training of martial arts. There was also the Alchemy Hall, the Spirit Array Hall, and the Weapon Refining Hall, the 3 auxiliary professions for the students to choose from. The vast 3,000 prefectures. Spirit Array Masters and Alchemists had extremely high statuses. Although weapon refiners could not compare to Spirit Array Masters and Alchemists, they were still respected. To become a Spirit Array Master or Alchemist was not an easy task, as there was an extremely harsh requirement for Spirit Force. Weapon refiners, on the other hand, did not have such requirements. In the Genius Barracks, there were over 100 Spirit Array apprentices and Alchemist apprentices, but there were only a few true Spirit Array Masters and Alchemists. To transform from a Spirit Array Apprentice or Alchemist Apprentice to a Spirit Array Master or Alchemist Apprentice was not an easy task. And the benefits that the disciples of the Genius Barracks received were extremely astonishing. Every one of them could receive 50 Great Dragon Pills every month to train, and if they wanted to obtain more Great Dragon pills or other training resources, they could use points to exchange for them. Every day, the Genius Barracks would give out missions, and by accepting missions and completing them, they would be able to obtain points. When Lin Feng and the rest arrived at the dormitory, some of them rested, while others left the dormitory to visit the Genius Barracks. While Lin Feng and Fire Qilin walked towards the Spirit Array Hall. I feel that you should give up on spirit arrays and follow me to learn alchemy. I guarantee that I can nurture you into the greatest alchemist in the 3,000 prefectures. Fire Qilin twitched its mouth and said, Were you very powerful in the past? Lin Feng asked. Of course, that year in the Sacred Sky Region's Alchemist Assembly, I was in the limelight. Fire Qilin said proudly, but thinking about his current state, he could not help but sigh. It's all because of your damned demonic pearl that I am in this state. Sooner or later, I will eat it. Fire Qilin had a fierce look. He continued, How about it? Do you want to learn alchemy? Of course I have to learn them, but the most important thing right now is to improve my skills in spiritual arrays. Although alchemy can allow me to concoct all kinds of precious pills, it can't provide me with a powerful fighting ability. Lin Feng said. Damn, perhaps this is the main reason why alchemists are always lower in status than spirit array masters. The Fire Qilin said indignantly. Lin Feng and the Fire Qilin arrived at the Spirit Array Master Hall. The Spirit Array Master Palace was a huge palace with 3 floors. Currently, Lin Feng's Spirit Array Master level had stopped at yellow rank, initial rank, and high rank. If he wanted to make another breakthrough, he would need to learn more advanced Spirit Array techniques. Clearly, the Jiaoan Academy did not have this kind of high-grade array formation, but the Azure Dragon Institute probably had it. The Spirit Array Master Hall was very spacious. The first floor was where students learned. The second and third floors were where spirit array techniques were placed. Lin Feng arrived at the second floor. At the entrance of the second floor, there was a gigantic door made of energy which blocked Lin Feng's way. Damn, this is the Soul Force Gate. Only those who have reached a certain level of Soul Force can enter. To this uncle, this is child's play. The Fire Qilin curled its lips. Although this guy's God force had been sucked dry by the devil bead, his soul force was still there. Lin Feng tried to pass through the Soul Force Gate and entered with ease. He said, Once you reach yellow rank, initial rank, and initial rank, you should be able to enter. The Fire Qilin said, It should be a method set up by those Spirit Array Master apprentices. If one doesn't have enough soul power to touch a high-level Spirit Array technique, it will greatly damage one's soul source. At the same time, this gate of soul power can also act as a sensor. If someone tries to force their way through the gate of soul power, they will definitely be discovered by the other guardians. You're not a Spirit Array Master, so isn't this considered trespassing? Lin Feng rolled his eyes. That's right. I'm happy to. The Fire Qilin swaggered inside. This guy. Lin Feng was quite speechless. He shook his head helplessly and walked inside. He saw that the second floor of the hall was filled with cupboards. Every cupboard was sealed by the Soul Force Gate. There were all kinds of spirit array techniques in the cupboards. Yellow rank, initial rank, initial rank, initial rank, fireball technique, condensed 12 spirit inscriptions to form a fireball. The fireball's explosion can cause great damage. Yellow rank, initial rank, clear water technique, condense 15 spirit inscriptions to create clear water out of thin air. Yellow rank, initial rank, intermediate rank, imperial sky technique, condense 26 spirit inscriptions to perform the imperial sky technique. You can control all kinds of objects from a distance and make them float in the air. Lin Feng looked at the dazzling array of spirit array techniques and was full of joy. His current spirit array techniques were all learned from Sun Tiantu. Many of the spirit array techniques were simple auxiliary spirit array techniques. For example, Lin Feng's body cleansing technique was to clean the filth on his body. As for attack-type spiritual array techniques, he had only trained in 2 types. One was the Great Azure Dragon Array, and the other was the Great Sword Ocean Array. However, these two types could not be called spiritual array techniques, but spiritual arrays. Spirit array. It was a large array set up by a spirit array master with the help of various materials. Once the large array was activated, it could cause great damage. For example, when he had set up the Great Azure Dragon Array, Lin Feng had used dozens of array materials to set it up successfully. This required him to prepare the materials in advance and set it up in advance. As for spirit array techniques, they were a kind of offensive method. As long as he circulated his soul force, he would be able to set it up very quickly. It was like using a martial art, and could be quickly used to kill the enemy. Relatively speaking, spirit array techniques were more favored by spirit array masters. This was because spirit array techniques could be used in many situations, but spirit arrays required a lot of effort to set up in advance. Once a sudden battle broke out, spirit arrays would not be needed. This was what most spirit array masters thought, but Lin Feng did not think so. When he had first come into contact with spirit arrays, Sun Tiantu had once said, "Spirit arrays are the foundation of a spirit array master. Only by learning complex spirit arrays can one build a solid foundation. When one's foundation is solid, it will be much easier to learn spirit array techniques. Lin Feng, take a look over here," the Fire Qilin shouted. Lin Feng walked over and looked at the closet that the Fire Qilin was pointing at. Yellow rank, initial stage, peak Great Array, Great Black Tortoise Array. A total of 72 spirit inscriptions are formed. Once successfully condensed, it can create the most powerful defensive power. Chapter 168. This was a basic array. It was not a spirit array technique. If one wanted to break through to the yellow rank, initial stage, or peak spirit array master, they naturally had to cultivate basic arrays first. For example, the Azure Dragon Array, the Sword Sea Array, and the Black Tortoise Array. When one broke through to the yellow rank, initial stage, or peak spirit array master, one could cultivate this level of spirit array technique. "This is the basic array I need." Lin Feng smiled. He reached out to grab the book on the Black Tortoise formation. Buzz. In a flash, the deployment marks on the wardrobe intertwined and turned into a terrifying wave of energy, blocking Lin Feng's path. The soul power seal on the cabinet was very shocking and bounced away Lin Feng's hand. This Black Tortoise Array was a yellow rank, initial stage, and peak spirit array. Then, the soul power seal in the cabinet should be a yellow rank, initial stage, and peak spirit array. "Your soul power doesn't seem to be enough," Fire Qilin said. "Nonsense, I felt it long ago." Lin Feng curled his lips. He focused his mind. Then, he reached out his right hand for the second time. This time, the soul power seal on the cabinet only resisted for a moment. Lin Feng's right hand successfully passed through the soul power seal and took out the Black Tortoise Array. "Success." Lin Feng's face was filled with joy. Fire Qilin muttered, "Your soul power is growing really fast. It hasn't been long since you broke through to the yellow rank, initial stage, and advanced spirit array master. You really can't compare yourself to others. If other spirit array masters knew about your cultivation speed, wouldn't they be depressed to death?" Cough, cough. At this moment, coughing sounds came from the end of the passage. Lin Feng and Fire Qilin were shocked and turned to look. At the end of the passageway, a skinny old man in a black robe had appeared out of nowhere. That old man was squinting his turbid eyes and looking over. Fire Qilin suddenly felt his hair stand on end. When did this old man appear? He actually didn't notice. This made Fire Qilin's hair stand on end. "Disciple Lin Feng greets Senior." After a short moment of shock, Lin Feng quickly recovered and bowed to the old man. The mysterious black-robed old man walked in front of Lin Feng and looked at Fire Qilin with a hint of surprise, as if he was wondering what kind of spirit beast Fire Qilin was. The old man quickly stopped looking at Lin Feng. He stretched out his skinny right hand and took the Black Tortoise deployment spell from Lin Feng's hand. "The Black Tortoise deployment spell is not suitable for breaking through to a higher cultivation level. Senior, please enlighten me. Lin Feng clasped his hands. The old man looked at Lin Feng and said, You're young, but your soul power is astonishing. The Black Tortoise Array only has 72 spiritual marks. You should know that every time you break through, your soul power will greatly increase. The increase in your soul power has a lot to do with the array you use to break through. The stronger the array you use to break through, the more your soul power will increase after you break through. In the long run, the difference between using an ordinary array to break through and using a top-notch array is unimaginable. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. I've been looking for a long time, but I only found this Black Tortoise Array. Lin Feng said. The old man took out a yellow scroll from his sleeve and gave it to Lin Feng. The Great Formation of Heavenly Spirits and Earthly Fiends. Lin Feng exclaimed. The Big Dipper has 36 spiritual inscriptions, and the Earth Fiend has 72 spiritual inscriptions. If you use the Big Dipper Earthly Fiend Array to break through, your soul power will be at least 3 times that of a Spirit Array Master of the same level. The old man said. Lin Feng gasped. It was as the old man had said. If you used the Black Tortoise Array to break through, it was made up of 72 spiritual marks. On the other hand, the Celestial Spirit Array had 216 spiritual marks, a difference of 3 times. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. Lin Feng thanked the old man. You don't have to thank me in a hurry. Do you know why many people would rather choose an ordinary array to break through than a high-level one? The old man suddenly asked. Because they don't have a high-level one. Lin Feng thought for a moment before answering. Slap. The old man slapped Lin Feng's head. Then, he said angrily, You're unteachable. Lin Feng wanted to cry but had no tears. He really didn't know. The old man took a deep breath and said, It seems like you haven't been in contact with spirit arrays for long, so it's normal that you don't know. Lin Feng felt helpless. If you think so, why did you hit me? This slap of his was really unjust. It's because the degree of danger is different. If you're able to break through an ordinary basic array, such as the Black Tortoise Array, then the difficulty of cultivating the Heavenly Spirit Earth Terminus Array will increase by at least 3 times. However, the cultivation of spiritual arrays involves the soul. If there's a mistake during cultivation, it will cause great harm to the soul. Throughout history, there have been countless spiritual array masters who harmed their souls while cultivating spiritual arrays. In the end, the consequences were very serious. They suffered a backlash and could no longer cultivate. Hiss. Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder spirit array masters would choose to cultivate an ordinary array to break through. The first reason was that it was hard to obtain a high-grade array. To begin with, a spirit array master's basic array or spirit array technique was extremely rare. Even a big force like the Azure Dragon Institute didn't have many. Moreover, some high-grade arrays were even harder to find. Of course, the main reason was the second reason. Just as the old man said, cultivating a high-grade array would cause too much damage. After all, a spirit array master was only a supporting profession. Cultivation was the foundation. For a supporting profession, one would risk the possibility of destroying one's cultivation. Who else could it be? Most likely, they wouldn't be willing to do such a thing. What? Scared? The old man's lips curled into a cold sneer. There was also a faint trace of disappointment. Lin Feng said, Scared? I'm scared? Isn't it just 3 times the danger? To me, it's not a problem at all. Lin Feng raised his head to look at the old man again. He found that the old man had disappeared without a trace. How did he disappear? Lin Feng's face was full of disbelief. Disappearing into thin air, wasn't that too scary? The fire Qilin curled its lips and said, What's the big deal? If my God force wasn't swallowed by the devil bead, this kind of trick would be child's play to me. Stop bragging, let's go. Lin Feng put the Heavenly Spirit's Earthly Fiends Array into his robes. F***CK, I've never bragged. Back in the day, I beat up a primal chaos ancestor in the depths of chaos, stepped on a 9-headed devil dragon at the peak of the blue sea, and kick down an ancient Holy Land's Holy Lord with a single kick in the middle Holy Land. I've done countless earth-shattering things. AI, stinky brat, don't walk so fast. Listen to me, I'm not bragging. Chapter 169. The new students had 10 days to adapt to the new environment. During that time, they weren't allowed to participate in the cultivation of the geniuses. Instead, they were allowed to understand everything about the geniuses' camp, including the structure of the geniuses' camp, the details of each courtyard, the history of the geniuses' camp, and so on. After Lin Feng went back, he locked himself in his room and told Long Xiu and the others not to disturb him. The Fire Qilin said, "That old man is playing tricks. He wouldn't have given you an incomplete basic formation, would he? Be careful of failing and turning into an idiot." Bang! Lin Feng sent the Fire Qilin flying with a kick. The Fire Qilin roared in anger. "Are you bullying me because I don't have any God force? Truly, when a tiger falls to the plains, it will be bullied by dogs." Lin Feng scolded. "Speaking such depressing words at such a critical moment, I'll stew you next time." The Fire Qilin was indignant. "I'm just reminding you out of kindness." "Just shut up, or go back to being a kitchen thief," Lin Feng said. "That's a really good idea. After hearing you say that, the gluttonous bug immediately came out." The Fire Qilin swallowed a mouthful of saliva and ran out with a swoosh, disappearing from sight in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng began to mourn for the Azure Dragon Institute's kitchen. Wherever the Fire Qilin went, there would be chaos. Everyone would shout and beat him. This guy was a complete disaster. If it weren't for the devil bee devouring his God force, who knew how many things would have happened? After the Fire Qilin left, Lin Feng began to prepare to practice the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation. He closed the door and windows, then took out the necessary talisman brushes, talisman papers, and talisman liquid. To practice the formation, one had to try to draw the spirit patterns on the formation over and over again, which required a strong soul force. The Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation had a total of 216 spirit patterns. Lin Feng spent 3 hours reading the book on the Great Deployment Spell of Celestial Baleful Earthly Evil Deployment Spell. Then, he carefully comprehended the key points of every step recorded in the book. The method of drawing each spiritual mark was memorized in his mind. This was a huge project because each spirit pattern had a myriad of variations. The higher the level of the formation, the more complicated the structure of the spirit pattern. If a low-level yellow-rank spirit array master forcibly drew the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation, even if it was just one spirit pattern, it would probably turn the other party into an idiot. Even if it was just one spirit pattern, a low-level yellow-rank spirit array master's soul force, the yellow-rank spirit array master's soul force would not be able to support such a huge consumption. Besides, Lin Feng had to memorize all 216 marks in his brain. One could imagine how difficult that was. If he had been able to create the Xian Wu deployment spell, he wouldn't have had to face so much pressure. The initial stages of becoming a spirit array master were very important. The more profound the foundational formation was, the more powerful one's soul force would be after the breakthrough. Soul power was too important to a spirit array master. It was related to what level a spirit array master could reach in the end. When Lin Feng memorized the 150 spirit patterns of the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation, he felt a piercing pain throughout his body. It was a piercing pain that originated from his soul, a pain brought about by his soul origin. The Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation contained too much information. Even with Lin Feng's current soul force, it was difficult for him to completely grasp it. As expected of a top-notch foundational formation, "I can't hold on much longer with just 150 spiritual inscriptions." Lin Feng's face was very pale. In fact, Lin Feng's soul force was very strong. During the Spirit Array Master Talent test, Lin Feng's soul force was the highest level, orange. Initial soul force was divided into white, silver-white, cyan, dark gold, gold, dark purple, purple, purplish gold, and orange. Every time a spirit array master's realm increased, their soul force would greatly increase. For example, a yellow rank, beginner, an advanced spirit array master with a white talent, and a yellow rank, beginner, an advanced spirit array master with a dark gold rank, beginner, an advanced spirit array master might have a difference of several times. A difference of several times in soul force at the same level was too terrifying. This kind of difference was difficult to make up for. And Lin Feng's talent was orange, the highest level among the 10. His soul force was definitely at the peak of his level. But even so, Lin Feng still couldn't memorize all the 216 spirit patterns recorded in the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation. It seemed impossible for a spirit array master at Lin Feng level to cultivate this kind of formation. It was simply a fool's dream to cultivate this Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation and break through. It was completely unrealistic. Archean Dragonesque Elephant! Suppress it! Lin Feng endured the piercing pain in his head and circulated the Archean Dragonesque Elephant art. Boom! In Lin Feng's mind, the image of the Archean Dragonesque Elephant appeared. It stepped on the sky and had a galaxy above its head. It suppressed the world. When the Archean Dragonesque Elephant appeared, the piercing pain disappeared. The Archean Dragonesque Elephant art was indeed worthy of being the #1 Archean Taboo divine art. There were many times when it could play a huge role and help Lin Feng turn danger into safety. Just like now. Lin Feng memorized 150 spirit patterns in his mind and began to comprehend the remaining spirit patterns. When he comprehended 180 spirit patterns, an even more piercing pain swept through his body. It was so painful that Lin Feng started to twitch. Lin Feng turned pale and continued to circulate the Archean Dragonesque Elephant art to suppress it. Finally, after an hour, the pain disappeared. Lin Feng continued to comprehend the spirit patterns of the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation. When he comprehended the 210th spirit pattern, the pain came again. This time, the indescribable pain almost made Lin Feng collapse. But the Archean Dragonesque Elephant art protected Lin Feng's soul from the backlash. In the end, Lin Feng comprehended the 216th spirit pattern recorded in the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation. Phew! It was only at this moment that Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. His mental state also gradually calmed down. After resting for 2 hours, Lin Feng started to practice the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation. The most difficult part of drawing a formation was the comprehension of the formation. As long as he could comprehend the wonders of the various spirit patterns of the formation, he would be able to achieve a breakthrough by practicing continuously. For 5 days, Lin Feng drew thousands of talismans. Finally, on this day, a shocking energy fluctuation came from the room. On the talisman paper, densely packed spiritual inscriptions intertwined to form a complex array. One could vaguely see that there seemed to be ancient doors standing in the formation. Those were the Great Heaven Spirit Gate and the Great Earth Terminus Gate. I've finally broken through to the yellow stage, the peak of the elementary stage Spirit Array Master. Lin Feng smiled. TSK! Suddenly, the talismans that were used to draw the Great Heaven Spirit Earth Terminus formation burned and turned into ashes. Chapter 170. After a few days of seclusion, he had broken through to the yellow, initial, and peak Spirit Array Master, which made Lin Feng very happy. After coming out of seclusion, Zhang Pingfen saw Lin Feng and said, "Lin Feng, here are the invitations from the 5 major powers." Lin Feng took a look and saw that the 5 major powers had invited him to a gathering in the genius camp. Obviously, they wanted to rope him in. However, Lin Feng had no intention of joining any of them. "Reject the invitations from the Blood Dragon Gang, Thunder Firmament Sect, Drizzle Building, and Wild Tiger Gang," Lin Feng said. Only Ling Qiushuang's Wind Snow School was left. This school only recruited female disciples and did not accept male disciples. In addition, Ling Qiushuang had helped him before, so Lin Feng did not want to reject her. "If we reject their invitations, will we offend them?" Zhang Pingfen asked worriedly. "If we only go to one of them, we'll offend the other three. If we go to all four, won't we be criticized for having a good character? We might as well reject all of them. This way, the four major powers will feel better. As for the Wind Snow School, they don't recruit male disciples. Because of Su Zimo, I have some connections with Ling Qiushuang. Even if we go to the banquet, we don't have to worry about the other four powers' suspicion. Lin Feng said. Zhang Pingfan nodded and said, Okay, I'll reject the other four now. Okay. Lin Feng nodded. He walked out of his residence and headed towards the Wind Snow School. At the Wind Snow School, he saw Ling Qiushuang and Shui Ziyao, who was with her before. Ha ha ha, Junior Brother Lin, it's our great honor to have you here at the Wind Snow School, Shui Ziyao said with a smile. Lin Feng smiled and said, Senior Sister Shui, you're too kind. I'm here today to thank you for helping me out that day. Ling Qiushuang's personality was cold. She said, Actually, you didn't need me to help you out. With your strength, why would you be afraid of Song Zhanyuan? Lin Feng said, Senior Sister Ling's chivalry is admirable. Of course, I have to thank you. Don't flatter each other. Junior Brother Lin, come and visit the Wind Snow School, Shui Ziyao said with a smile. Senior Sister Shui, please lead the way. Lin Feng clasped his fists. Shui Ziyao and Ling Qiushuang looked at the Wind Snow School. There were more than 300 people in total, many beautiful female students. Lin Feng's. Feng. Being on good terms with a monstrous student like Lin Feng was 100 benefits without any disadvantages. By the time they left the Wind Snow School, it was already evening. Lin Feng headed toward his residence. On the way, two students blocked his path. Junior Brother Lin, we're from the Blood Dragon Gang. I'm Fan Tao, and this is Song Yang. Senior Brother Su Haotsang sent us here to invite Brother Lin. The skinny student with a slightly sinister gaze said. This person was Fan Tao. Lin Feng had an impression of Su Haotsang. When they had just arrived at the Genius Barracks, Su Haotsang had already appeared. Please lead the way, Lin Feng said. Follow us. Fan Tao and Song Yang turned around and led the way. Neither of them spoke to Lin Feng. They brought Lin Feng to a mountain range deep in the Genius Barracks. There was no palace here, and according to Lin Feng's knowledge, this place was called the Broken Mountain. It was said that in the past, it was an important place for the Azure Dragon Institute, and was covered with powerful restrictions. Later on, a great battle broke out and the restrictions were destroyed. If someone who didn't understand formations casually barged in, it was very likely that they would trigger some of the broken restrictions. In the best case scenario, they would be injured, and in the worst case scenario, they would be killed. Is this a place to discuss matters? Lin Feng frowned. Song Yang coldly said, Just follow us. What's with all the nonsense? Lin Feng's gaze turned cold, but he restrained himself. He wanted to see what these people wanted to do. Could it be that they wanted to commit murder here? The Genius Barracks forbade students from fighting. It didn't take long for the three of them to reach the foot of the Broken Mountain. Su Haotsang was already waiting for them. Senior Brother, Lin Feng is here, Fan Tao said. Su Haotsang nodded. His narrow eyes looked at Lin Feng and said, Junior Brother Lin, I sent you an invitation on behalf of the Blood Dragon Gang, but you refused. What is the meaning of this? Not giving me face? Not giving the Blood Dragon Gang face? Lin Feng said, I have no intention of joining any force. Not only did I refuse the Blood Dragon Gang, but I also refused the other forces. I have no other intentions. Humph. Refusing my Blood Dragon Gang is not giving us any face. I'll give you a choice now. Do you want to join my Blood Dragon Gang or not? Think carefully before you answer me. Su Haotsang looked at Lin Feng with an arrogant expression. Lin Feng said, My attitude is still the same as before. I won't join any force. If it's just this matter, then I'll take my leave. Lin Feng turned around, wanting to leave. Fan Tao and Song Yang blocked Lin Feng's path. Lin Feng said coldly, What is the meaning of this? Su Haotsang sneered. Lin Feng, you really don't want face. Fine, since I've given you face and you don't want it, then let's make things clear. Guizifei, did you kill Nailan Kun? Lin Feng sneered. You want to frame me? Do you have evidence? If you do, you can report me to the Azure Dragon Institute's higher-ups. If you don't, then shut your mouth. Impudent. Su Haotsang snorted. You think you can be so impudent in front of me just because you defeated Huangfuyu? Even Huangfuyu doesn't dare to be so arrogant in front of me. Do you know that you're talking to a great spirit array master? Correct your attitude. Lin Feng sneered. I really don't know where your sense of superiority comes from. Is it because you're a spirit array master? Su Haotsang looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, People like you will never know how terrifying a spirit array master is. Do you know where you are? This is the Shattered Mountain, and there are broken barriers everywhere. Even the Institute Master's treasure, the complete sky mirror, can't see what's going on here. I called you here, so I can deal with you however I want. I can even crush you like a bug and no one will know. Lin Feng said coldly. It seems like you had this idea from the beginning. If you knew what's good for you, then not only would we write off your past, my Blood Dragon gang would also think highly of you. However, you don't want face. I'll give you one last chance. Kneel before me and swear allegiance to my Blood Dragon gang, and I'll spare you today. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out of the Shattered Mountain. A trace of killing intent appeared on Su Haotsang's face. He looked at Lin Feng with an arrogant attitude, as if everything was under his control. Chapter 171. Fan Tao and Song Yang were both sneering. Obviously, the two of them also thought that they could defeat Lin Feng today. They had absolute confidence in Su Haotsang because he was a spiritual array master. Su Haotsang's strength was ranked 126th on the Mountain River list. However, many of the top-ranked students were fearful of him because of his identity as a spiritual array master. Other than his own strength, he could also use spiritual array techniques against his enemies. Many people who seemed to be much stronger than Su Haotsang found it difficult to defeat him because he knew spiritual array techniques. This was the terrifying aspect of a spiritual array master. And here, there were broken restrictions everywhere. To others, the Broken Mountain was a place full of danger, but to a spiritual array master, it was a place he could use. In the Broken Mountain, a spiritual array master could display his strongest abilities. This was the main reason why Su Haotsang called Lin Feng here. Su Haotsang believed that in the Broken Mountain, even if Lin Feng had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would not be able to escape from his palms. Fan Tao coldly said, Brat, senior brother Su Haotsang has already given you several chances. Don't be stubborn. If you don't know how to appreciate favors, this will be your burial ground. Lin Feng coldly said. As a student of the Azure Dragon Institute, you actually dared to be so cruel and merciless as to kill other students. If the Azure Dragon Institute finds out, you will die a horrible death. Haha, who knows how many days it will be when your corpse is found? Who would know that we did it? So what if they suspect us? Would the Azure Dragon Institute make things difficult for us for a dead person? Song Yang disdainfully said. Good, good, good. Since it's like this, then I will kill the 3 of you today. Killing intent appeared on Lin Feng's face. The 3 of them wanted to kill him. Lin Feng was not a weak person. Others wanted his life, how could he not retaliate? Was he still a man? A man should live a vigorous life. Brat, it seems like you're looking for death. Su Haotsang's face suddenly revealed a dense killing intent. Shua. He repeatedly formed hand seals. This Su Haotsang was ready to use his spiritual array technique. Confinement technique! Su Haotsang coldly shouted and a ray of light flew out. That light was intertwined with dozens of spiritual patterns. This was an extremely powerful confinement technique. Once one was enveloped by the light, they would be confined and unable to move. Haha, senior brother Su Haotsang's spiritual array technique is getting more and more powerful. Fan Tao and Song Yang both had flattering looks on their faces. Senior spiritual array master, And at that time, I'll be the first. Senior brother is truly a genius in the field of spirit array masters. He's only been cultivating for 10 years, and he's about to break through to yellow rank, initial rank, and advanced rank spirit array master. The cultivation of a spiritual array master was very difficult. It required a strong comprehension ability. In 10 years, going from a spiritual array apprentice to a true spiritual array master, then to a yellow rank, a beginner rank, and an advanced spiritual array master was indeed a genius. Not everyone was as monstrous as Lin Feng. In a little more than a year, he had walked the path that others would take 10 or 20 years to complete. While the three of them were talking, the confinement technique had already been applied to Lin Feng. Haha, this brat is confined. Fan Tao and Song Yang laughed unscrupulously. Su Haotsang said, "What are you waiting for? Teach this brat a lesson. Don't kill him directly. Use a knife and cut off his flesh piece by piece. I want him to die by 1,000 cuts. This is the consequence of offending my blood dragon gang." "Okay." Fan Tao responded and took out a dagger, stabbing it at Lin Feng. But nobody had thought that Lin Feng, who had been imprisoned, would suddenly move. Shua! Lin Feng dodged to the left, causing Fan Tao's attack to miss. Lin Feng punched at Fan Tao's chest. Bang! The powerful punch landed on Fan Tao's chest. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Fan Tao's chest caved in from Lin Feng's punch. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He twitched a few times and died. "You! How did you break my confinement technique?" Su Haotsang shouted in disbelief. Lin Feng looked indifferent. After killing Fan Tao, he rushed towards Song Yang. Song Yang's face changed and he shouted, "Brother Su Haotsang, save me!" Fireball technique. Su Haotsang shouted coldly. He cast another spiritual array technique and condensed fireballs. Dozens of fireballs containing a destructive power flew towards Lin Feng. Humph! Lin Feng sneered. He activated his devouring martial spirit and formed a black hole. The fireballs were all swallowed. In the next moment, Lin Feng arrived in front of Song Yang and threw a powerful punch at him. "I'll kill you!" At this moment of life and death, Song Yang's ferociousness was stimulated. He threw a punch at Lin Feng. Bang! Lin Feng and Song Yang's energies collided violently. Song Yang and Lin Feng's arm was broken. Lin Feng then punched Song Yang's chest. Song Yang was like Fan Tao. He couldn't withstand Lin Feng's attack and was blown away. His ribs were broken and he spat out blood. He fell to the ground and died. Lin Feng had also killed him. "It's your turn." Lin Feng looked at Su Haotsang with a murderous expression. "Boy, I want you dead." Su Haotsang shouted coldly. He attacked with spiritual inscriptions. Buzz! Su Haotsang used his spiritual inscriptions to activate the restrictive spells in the mountain. He wanted to use the restrictive spells to attack Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, the restrictive spells in the mountain can easily kill a general, let alone someone like you. Let's see how you'll die today." Su Haotsang laughed evilly. "You're a spiritual spellcaster. You want to use the power of the mountain to kill me, but I forgot to tell you that I'm also a spiritual spellcaster." Lin Feng smiled coldly. Swoosh! Lin Feng waved his right hand and a few spiritual inscriptions flew out and collided with Su Haotsang's spiritual inscriptions. Su Haotsang's spiritual inscriptions were instantly destroyed. How is this possible? Su Haotsang couldn't believe his eyes. He was a low-level spiritual spellcaster, a medium-level spiritual spellcaster, but his spiritual inscriptions had been destroyed by Lin Feng's spiritual inscriptions. What did that mean? It meant that Lin Feng's spiritual spellcaster level was much higher than his. "Go to hell!" Lin Feng rushed towards Su Haotsang and punched him. "Don't kill me, I'm willing to do anything for you," Su Haotsang begged. "How can I trust a fickle villain like you?" Lin Feng looked indifferent. "Let's see who's going to die." Su Haotsang roared and used a secret skill called Dragon Moves Between Heaven and Earth to attack Lin Feng. Spatial magnetic field confinement. Lin Feng smiled coldly. Su Haotseng was immediately confined in place by the spatial magnetic field. He couldn't move. In the next moment, Lin Feng arrived in front of Su Haotseng and punched him with all his might. Bam! Bam! Su Haotseng's body was blown away by Lin Feng's punch. His body exploded into 1,000,000 pieces in the air. Chapter 172. Lin Feng took advantage of the darkness and left in a hurry. Because there were many broken restrictions here, very few people came here. Because of this, Su Haotseng thought that it was a good place to kill people. At the same time, Lin Feng thought that it was a good place to kill Su Haotseng and the others. Even if Su Haotseng and the other two's corpses were found, it would take some time. By then, who would know that it was him? After returning to his residence, Zhang Pingfan smiled and said, I heard that there are many beautiful women in the Wind Snow School. Lin Feng, have you seduced any of them? Hee, with Captain's strength and appearance, I don't know how many beautiful women want to be with you. Wu Ming said enviously. Now, there were still many people who called Lin Feng Captain. Huang Lei shrugged helplessly. His sister, Huang Linger, was too attentive and always liked to hang around Lin Feng. Of course, if Huang Linger really fell in love with Lin Feng, Huang Lei wouldn't object. Instead, he would be a bit complacent. If he had a brother-in-law like Lin Feng, he would also feel proud. Lin Feng said, There are so many beautiful women. Do you want to flirt with them? I can introduce you to some of them. Damn, Captain, we're counting on you for the rest of our lives. A group of animals surrounded him. Lin Feng said with a smile, I heard that the Wind Snow School has a requirement. If you want to flirt with the Wind Snow School's girls, you have to pass the test of the Wind Snow School's 18 Celestial Sword Formation. A while ago, someone tried to pass the test and was careless. An array of sword she almost cut off his manhood. Wu Ming and the others' legs trembled, and they couldn't help but clamp their legs together. Xian Yuanzhan said, Forget it, we're here to cultivate, not to flirt with girls. Wu Ming and the others said, That's right, beautiful women are all beauties, and they'll hinder our cultivation. We're focused on cultivation, so we won't let these beauties affect us. Lin Feng was speechless as he looked at this group of people who were blowing their own trumpets. If they couldn't flirt with them, then they couldn't flirt with them. Very quickly, 10 days had passed. Lin Feng and the others had joined the geniuses' camp and were practicing cultivation as usual. The discovery of Su Haotseng and the other two's corpses caused a huge uproar in the Azure Dragon Institute. The Azure Dragon Mountain Institute started investigating this matter, but there was no evidence to prove who did it. It seemed like this matter was going to be left unsettled. The blood of the Blood Dragon Gang's group gathered. Shui Long, the president of the Blood Dragon Gang, said with a gloomy expression, Who did this? What do you think? One of the Blood Dragon Gang's core members said, Su Haotseng offended some people, but the place where he died was at the Broken Mountain. That place is densely covered with restrictions. Shua, the flames on the flaming door extinguished, and Lin Feng walked through it. When he entered, the flaming door burst into flames again. This was very similar to the Soul Force door in the Spirit Array Master Palace. Not only could it prevent people from entering, if someone tried to force their way in, the flaming door would create a loud commotion. The elder overseeing the alchemist's palace would be able to sense it. Lin Feng arrived on the second floor. The second floor was divided into different rooms. Bookshelves were placed in these rooms, and on these bookshelves were books related to alchemy. Occasionally, one could see several students studying in these rooms. These students were most likely apprentice alchemists. In the entire Azure Dragon Institute, there were about 200 apprentice alchemists, but the number of real alchemists could be counted on one's fingers. Among these 200 apprentice alchemists, only 3 to 4 people would be able to become alchemists. Chapter 173. Lin Feng went to a room in the depths of the hall. This should be where the alchemist talent test was conducted. The room was completely empty. Nothing was placed there. After waiting for about 15 minutes, an old man wearing a snow-white alchemist's robe entered the room. This old man was the great elder of the alchemist hall, Mo Wuya. "Are you the one who wants to take the alchemist talent test?" the old man asked. "Yes, I am." Lin Feng bowed. "Have you come into contact with alchemy before?" Mo Wuya asked. "Never," Lin Feng said. Mo Wuya furrowed his brows and asked. "Age?" 16, Lin Feng replied. Mo Wuya continued. "If you want to become an alchemist, you need to be an alchemist apprentice for 4 to 6 years. You need to properly study the system, identify different types of spiritual herbs, understand the uses of each spiritual herb, understand the reactions of different spiritual herbs when mixed together, etc. You're already 16 and have never come into contact with an alchemist. It's already too late. You started too late compared to others. How can you catch up to others?" said Lin Feng. "Elder, you're right. But I've heard that in terms of medicine concoction, one's natural talent and perception are very important. External knowledge is secondary. As long as I can confirm that I'm a talented alchemist, I'll be able to learn the basics of medicine concoction." "And you're quite thoughtful." Mo Wuya nodded. He then took out a fiery red crystal ball. This fiery red crystal ball was a tool used to test alchemy talent. It was similar to the transparent crystal ball used to test alchemy talent. "Pour your spiritual energy into it. Your spiritual energy and elemental attributes will be revealed," Mo Wuya said. "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. He took a deep breath. He placed his right hand on the fiery red crystal ball and poured his spiritual energy into it. Whoosh! In an instant, the fiery red crystal ball began to change. Scorching hot energy was emitted from it. Within the crystal ball, a ball of fire burned fiercely. The alchemist talent test was rather complicated. Alchemy talent was determined by 2 aspects. The first aspect was the strength of one's spiritual energy. Similar to the alchemist talent, the alchemist's spiritual energy was divided into white, silver, green, dark gold, dark purple, purple, and orange. Fire talent was also divided into 10 levels. After pouring one's spiritual energy into the crystal ball and igniting a ball of fire, that was a 1-star talent. If there were 2 clusters of flames burning, it would be a 2-star talent. And so on and so forth. The highest was 10 flames could ignite. 10 stars was the strongest talent. At that moment, Lin Feng's soul was penetrating into the crystal ball and the first fire started burning. Mo Wuya was slightly surprised. Lin Feng had managed to ignite his first fire so quickly. According to Mo Wuya's experience, Lin Feng's fire affinity wasn't weak. He was at least a 3-star talent. Not everyone who had the talent to become an alchemist was worth nurturing. Alchemist talent. Out of 100 people with alchemy talent, only 1 student with 3-star talent and above would appear. In the entire Jinwu country, the 9 great academies and the imperial capital's Azure Dragon Institute had more than 1 million students. However, the Azure Dragon Institute only had about 200 alchemist apprentices. From this, one could see how low the probability of becoming an alchemist was. But soon Mo Wuya was shocked. Because within the crystal ball, 1 flame after another was ignited. When the 3rd flame was ignited, the 4th flame was ignited, and then the 5th. When the 6th flame was ignited, Mo Wuya's hands trembled slightly. When the 7th flame was ignited, Mo Wuya's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open. He was completely shocked. When the 8th flame was ignited, Mo Wuya felt as if his neck was being strangled. He felt like he was suffocating. When the 9th flame was ignited, Mo Wuya's eyes widened. He was deeply shocked. When the 10th flame was ignited, Mo Wuya's mind went blank. Fire attribute. 10-star talent. The legendary medicine king, Luo Xinghe. He was merely a 9-star talent. What shocked Mo Wuya even more was yet to come. Inside the crystal ball, rays of light soared to the sky. First it was white, then silver, then cyan, dark gold, dark purple, purple, purple gold, and finally, it stopped at orange. Soul talent 10 stars! Emoya cried out in disbelief. Even though he had lived for several hundred years, he had never heard of such a genius. 10-star fire attribute talent. 10-star soul talent. This was simply a heaven-defying monstrous character. Bang! Suddenly, a loud sound rang out. The crystal ball actually exploded. Heavens, how is this possible? The crystal ball exploded? The crystal ball couldn't withstand this kid's soul force? He has a 10-star soul talent, but his soul strength isn't the same as his initial soul strength. His soul strength must have increased by a large margin to be able to explode the crystal ball. This soul strength is at least at the level of a profound level alchemist. At this moment, Emoya was shocked to the point of numbness. 10-star soul talent. 10-star fire attribute talent. He had yet to become an alchemist, but his soul force had already reached the level of a profound rank alchemist. This was too monstrous. Once one became an alchemist, their soul force would improve greatly in the process of refining medicine. This was the same principle as drawing a spiritual array. Drawing a spiritual array could also improve one's soul force. Every time one drew a spiritual array or refined medicine, it was a huge consumption of soul force. When everything was over, one would slowly recover and their soul force would gradually increase. Cough, cough, Elder, I'm really sorry. I accidentally burst the crystal ball, Lin Feng said awkwardly. Only then did Mo Wuya recover from his deep shock. He tried hard to calm himself down. Mo Wuya knew very well what Lin Feng's talent represented. Perhaps in the future, a medicine king would walk out of the Azure Dragon Institute. At that time, it would definitely shake the 3,000 provinces. No, that's not right. The East region's #1 medicine king, Luo Xinghe, only had an 8-star soul talent and a 9-star fire attribute talent. Before he became an alchemist, his soul force was at the level of a mid-grade yellow rank alchemist. This kind of talent was heaven-defying, but compared to Lin Feng's talent, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Luo Xinghe's talent was far inferior to Lin Feng's, yet he could become a medicine king that shocked the 3,000 provinces? With Lin Feng's talent, could he become a medicine emperor in the future? Or even a legendary medicine emperor? Chapter 174. The shock that Lin Feng brought to Emoya was hard to describe with words. At this moment, countless thoughts flashed through Emoya's mind, thinking of how to keep Lin Feng in the Azure Dragon Institute. If this kind of monstrous genius continued to stay in the Azure Dragon Institute, perhaps in the future, the Azure Dragon Institute would grow stronger, becoming like those ancient forces instead of being limited to a single country. It's just a crystal ball, nothing much. What's your name? Emoya asked. Disciple is Lin Feng. You're Lin Feng? Emoya was surprised. He had naturally heard of Lin Feng's great name, it was just that he had never met him in person. Lin Feng nodded. Yes, I am. Emoya was inwardly astounded. This kid not only had a high cultivation, his talent in alchemy was also astounding, truly a monstrous genius. After sighing inwardly, Emoya said, Your talent in alchemy is astonishing, but without a good teacher, you're destined to take many detours. Even more so, it will be difficult to achieve great things on the path of alchemy. Lin Feng did not interrupt, only listening quietly. Emoya continued, I'll accept you as my disciple, how about it? Accept me as your disciple? Lin Feng was surprised. Emoya said, That's right, accept you as my disciple. This old man is a mystic, high and peak alchemist, as well as our true martial country's #1 alchemist. Accepting you as my disciple, isn't that more than enough? With this old man personally guiding you, when the time comes, your alchemy skills will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Many thanks for Elder's kindness. Lin Feng cupped his fists. That Fire Qilin guy had always bragged in front of Lin Feng about how awesome he was in the past, but Lin Feng had always been non-committal. Based on that Fire Qilin guy's boastful personality, 30% of his words were true and 70% false. Was he really an alchemist? Instead of placing his hopes on the fire Qilin, he might as well take Moya as his master and properly learn alchemy. Moya nodded in satisfaction. He had expected that Lin Feng would not reject him, so he continued. If you accept me as your master, I will teach you the best alchemy techniques and even ancient recipes. These things are priceless, but they are not without conditions. Elder, please explain, Lin Feng said. I need you to stay in the Azure Dragon Institute, Moya said. Lin Feng's brows furrowed slightly, asking, Always staying in the Azure Dragon Institute? That's right, you must continue to cultivate in the Azure Dragon Institute, and in the future, you are not allowed to join other forces. You will gradually replace my position, and in the future, the Azure Dragon Institute's principal position will be yours. You will shoulder the responsibility of revitalizing the Azure Dragon Institute, Moya said. In Moya's eyes, Lin Feng was just a disciple of a small family. And the Azure Dragon Institute was the true martial country's most powerful force. Even the true martial country's emperor treated the Azure Dragon Institute's principal as an honored guest. If Lin Feng were to become the Azure Dragon Institute's principal in the future, then the Lin family would leap from a small family to one of the true martial country's super forces. In Moya's opinion, this condition was something Lin Feng could not refuse. But Moya's guess was wrong. Lin Feng had the divine beast fire Qilin by his side. If Moya was just an ordinary student, he might really agree to Moya's condition. But Lin Feng would not. Because Lin Feng had learned about the wonders of the 3,000 prefectures from the fire Qilin. In the future, he still wanted to explore the depths of the chaos, explore the ancient ruins, go to the foothills of the Blue Sea, and battle the heroes of the world. In the future, Lin Feng wanted to be like the ancient great powers, reaching out his hand and grabbing the stars in outer space. Lin Feng wanted to be like the Supreme Beast King, able to carry a boundless ocean while flying. Lin Feng still wanted to live forever and never die. But these were things the Azure Dragon Institute could not achieve. Whether it was the ancient divine ability, or the art of immortality, none of them were things of force on the level of the Azure Dragon Institute could provide. The only way was to join a stronger force. Like the ancient great powers, or even some ancient holy grounds that surpassed the ancient great powers. Only then could one seek immortality and cultivate a supreme divine ability. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Feng to stay in the Azure Dragon Institute forever. Lin Feng said, I'm sorry, I can't agree to this. Don't be in a hurry to refuse, you must think carefully. This old man holds the inheritance of an ancient immortal medicine sect. This immortal medicine sect was a famous alchemy sect even in the ancient times. If you obtain this old man's inheritance, your future as an alchemist will be limitless. Moreover, this old man is destined to only pass this inheritance to personal disciples. If you don't agree, then you have no fate with this inheritance, Moya said. Lin Feng was still resolute. Because what he yearned for was the martial path. The peak of martial path. The peak of divine realm. Surpassing reincarnation, immortality. Whether it was a spiritual array master or alchemy. These were only auxiliary professions. Although spiritual array masters and alchemy could bring about extraordinary abilities. But as a cultivator, the most important thing was still cultivation. Not allowing auxiliary professions to take over. Lin Feng said, Elder, I have made up my mind and will not change it. If there is nothing else, this disciple will take his leave. Lin Feng, go back and think carefully. A person's opportunity may only come once in a lifetime, you must seize it. Once you miss it, it will be too late to regret in the future. Moya warned. Yes, this disciple will think carefully. Lin Feng nodded and left. In the alchemist's hall, Huang Xiaolong borrowed some basic alchemy knowledge before returning to his residence. The fire dragon asked, How is it? Is the talent test like this? Fire element, 10-star talent. Lin Feng answered. Haha, I knew you were destined to have a powerful alchemist talent. The fire Qilin was pacing around the room. Lin Feng recounted his conversation with Mo Wuya. The Fire Qilin said disdainfully, "What bullsh** the ancient alchemy sect? I have the inheritance of the ancient alchemy sect. It is the best inheritance." "Damn, are you trying to trick me?" Lin Feng muttered. "Of course not." The Fire Qilin pursed its lips. It seemed to remember that it was not very reliable before, so it emphasized, "I swear on the dignity of the Qilin clan." Seeing how serious the Fire Qilin was, Lin Feng no longer doubted it. The Fire Qilin said, "If you want to become an alchemist, you need to refine flames." "Refine flames?" Lin Feng was puzzled. "Of course. Refining flames into your body and making them yours is the first step to becoming an alchemist," the Fire Qilin said. Lin Feng said, "Refining flames into your body? Can your body take it? Won't the flames burn your body to death?" The Fire Qilin said, "Naturally, you can't directly devour flames. You need to prepare some things." Lin Feng nodded and asked, "What kind of flames do you need to refine?" The Fire Qilin said, "There are 3 types of flames that can be refined by alchemists: heavenly flames, earthly flames, and demonic flames." Chapter 175. Heavenly Fire, Earth Fire, Demonic Fire. It was the first time Lin Feng had heard of such things, so he didn't know much about them. Lin Feng asked, "What's a heavenly fire? What's an earth fire? What's a demonic fire?" The Fire Qilin explained. Demonic fire is the fire within a demonic beast's body. In the world, some demonic beasts can produce fire within their bodies. For example, a fire lion can spit fire, or a fire dragon can control the power of fire. These beasts' origin flames are demonic fire. Earth fire is a flame born from the depths of the earth. For example, in the depths of a world of lava, earth fire is an earth fire, and the flames in the cracks of the earth are earth fire. Heavenly fire is terrifying, as it's a flame born from the creation of the world. In all the worlds, there are only 72 types of heavenly fire, and each of them represents a supreme power. Nowadays, heavenly fire is extremely rare, and it's almost impossible to find. Heavenly fire is that powerful? If you can refine a heavenly fire, won't you be able to defy the heavens?" asked Lin Feng. The Fire Qilin rolled its eyes and said, "In your dreams. If there really was a heavenly fire, would it be your turn? In the long years, many heavenly fires have disappeared. Even if there are still heavenly fires in the world, as long as the fire spirit of a heavenly fire doesn't die, such a heavenly fire is equivalent to a peerless expert. It can kill you in seconds, unless you can find a heavenly fire whose fire spirit has died. Only the origin of the heavenly fire is left, and you can refine it. But where in the world can you find such a heavenly fire? In any case, I know that the 10 great medicinal emperors of the Holy Celestial Continent searched for a heavenly fire for 100 years, but they couldn't find one. Heavenly fire was a type of heavenly fire. It was born with the heaven and earth. If one could refine this kind of flame, it could help an alchemist advance by leaps and bounds on the path of alchemy. In addition, the heavenly flame could also greatly increase the alchemist's cultivation. Lin Feng didn't have any regrets about not being able to find a heavenly fire. After all, since the creation of the world, there had only been 72 types of heavenly fire. After millions and millions of years, it was normal for heavenly fire to gradually disappear. Lin Feng asked, "What about the earthen fire and fiend fire?" said the Fire Qilin. "What we need to pay attention to are the earth fire and the demon fire. It's hard to say which one is stronger, but it should be said that they both have their own strengths. The earth fire and the demon fire are also divided into different levels. Among the demon fires, the demon fire of mythical beasts is the strongest, such as the phoenix, the vermilion bird, the Fire Qilin, and other mythical beasts. After that are the fire dragon and other mythical beasts. Then there are the demon fires of the ancient beasts. But obviously you can't get these powerful demon fires because these beasts are too strong to be killed," Lin Feng said. "It's not easy to find a powerful earth fire, right? It's not easy to find them, but with my experience, I should be able to find them. Fire Qilin said. Lin Feng asked. Then, when are we leaving? I'll wait for a few days. Let me think about where I can find a high-level earth fire. Fire Qilin said. After a pause, Fire Qilin continued. Refining flames requires a type of spirit liquid to protect your body. I'll give you a prescription. You can go buy the spirit herbs later, and I'll refine the spirit liquid. There's no time to lose. I'll go now, Lin Feng said. A moment later, Lin Feng felt some information appear in his mind. He carefully sensed that there were more than 70 types of spirit herbs. This was the prescription the Fire Qilin had given to Lin Feng. This is the prescription. Just buy it according to the prescription, Fire Qilin said. Lin Feng didn't waste any time and immediately went to the market to buy the spirit herbs he needed. The next day, Ling Qiushuang and Shui Ziao came to Lin Feng's place. We're honored by your presence, senior sisters. Your presence brings light to our humble dwelling. Senior sisters, please come in and have a seat. Lin Feng invited them. Ling Qiushuang said. We won't be sitting. We're here to invite you to participate in a mission. A mission? Lin Feng looked at Ling Qiushuang suspiciously. The leader of Wind Snow's school, senior sister Lu Fingxue, has come back with news. Shui Ziao lowered her voice and said, Senior sister Lu found 12 scarlet flowers in the storm plains, but they were protected by a powerful beast. The scarlet flowers are about to mature. Senior sister Lu came back to the institute to find someone to collect the 12 scarlet flowers. We thought of you and came to find you, Ling Qiushuang said. Scarlet flowers? Earth tier spirit herbs. Scarlet flowers. Lin Feng was shocked. That's right. Ling Qiushuang and Shui Ziao nodded. Lin Feng took a deep breath. 12 red fire flowers. That was an incredible amount of money. Earth-tier spirit herbs needed to grow for 1,000 years to mature. Such spirit herbs could be refined into earth-tier pills. Of course, they could also be eaten directly. Earth-tier spirit herbs could greatly improve one's cultivation. Thank you, senior sister. Lin Feng cupped his fists and thanked her. No need to be so polite. Let's hurry back. Senior sister is waiting for us, Shui Ziao said. Lin Feng nodded and went to Wind Snow's school with Ling Qiushuang and Shui Ziao. Soon, the three of them arrived at Wind Snow's school. At this moment, there were 9 people sitting in the hall of Wind Snow's school. Sitting on the main seat was a beautiful woman dressed in white. She had an impressive figure and a beautiful face. She must be the founder of Wind Snow's school, Lu Fingxue, ranked 4th on the Mountain River list. Senior sister, this is junior brother Lin Feng, Ling Qiushuang said. Greetings, senior sister Lu Fingxue. Lin Feng cupped his fists. Junior brother Lin, you don't have to be so polite. Please find a place to sit, Lu Fingxue said with a smile. Her voice sounded soft, but Lu Fingxue was not a simple person. Otherwise, how could a woman establish such a big force like Wind Snow's school? Other than Lu Fingxue, there were 2 high-ranking members of Wind Snow's school and 6 people who were on good terms with Wind Snow's school. For example, Yuan Qinxing, Zhou Yingying. Lin Feng knew the 2 of them. Among the other 4, there was a purple-robed man called Zi Yunfeng. He was ranked 12th on the Mountain River list and had not joined any powerhouses. The green-robed man was called Feng Yi. He was ranked 19th on the Mountain River list and had not joined any powerhouses. Feng Yi's background was not simple. His uncle was the head instructor of the Genius Camp's martial arts courtyard, Feng Gang. In this period of time, Lin Feng and the other freshmen had also joined the Genius Camp to train. They finally knew why the Genius Camp gave the head instructor Feng Gang the nickname Black Rakshasa. It was because Feng Gang's training class was to torture the students to their heart's content. He would only stop training when they were exhausted. Every time he trained, it was as though he had shed a layer of skin. Everyone naturally feared Feng Gang. The third person was a delicate and pretty young master. He looked like a scholar. He was called Chao Feiyu. He was ranked 21st on the Mountain River list and was a member of the Wild Tiger Gang along with Yuan Qinxing. The fourth person was a skinny young master with a sword on his back. He was called Jiang Xian. His nickname was Little Sword Demon. He and Zhou Yinging were both from the Drizzle building. This time, the 12 of us will head to the Storm Plains to fight against a powerful beast with the ancient blood flowing in its veins. We will fight for the 12 scarlet flame flowers. As long as we can obtain these scarlet flame flowers, our cultivation will increase greatly. We can even break through our current levels. Everyone go back and prepare. Tomorrow morning, we will set off for the Storm Plains, Lu Fengxue said. Okay. Lin Feng and the rest nodded. They then left to prepare their necessities. Roar, the nine-headed red-blazed lion's perception was very strong. The moment Lu Fengxue and the others appeared, the nine-headed red-blazed lion sensed them. The beast let out an earth-shattering roar. Rumble! The earth shook violently. The next moment, a huge creature rushed out of the cave. The behemoth had a pair of huge wings. It was over 20 meters tall and 30 meters long. Its entire body was as red as flames, and it had 9 ferocious heads. It was the nine-headed red-blazed lion. When the nine-headed red-blazed lion saw Lu Fengxue and the others, it let out a low roar and pounced towards them. Let's go! Lu Fengxue said in a low voice. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. They did not dare to stay any longer and quickly rushed out. The nine-headed red-blazed lion was ferocious, and naturally, it would not let these human cultivators who dared to trespass into its territory go. It quickly caught up with Lu Fengxue and the others. Fight! Lu Fengxue shouted. Boom! Then, a huge battle broke out. This time, everyone was very well prepared. Not only did they prepare 3 powerful flying swords, but they also spent a lot of money to buy powerful talismans. When the nine-headed red-blazed lion chased after them, some people controlled their flying swords and slashed at the nine-headed red-blazed lion. Others took out talismans. Roar, roar, roar! The talismans turned into golden gods of war wearing golden armor and wielding golden axes. They charged towards the nine-headed red-blazed lion. Move out! Lin Feng shouted in a low voice and rushed out first. Ling Qiushuang followed closely behind. The nine-headed red-blazed lion's perception was extremely strong. When Lin Feng and Ling Qiushuang suddenly appeared and rushed towards the 12 red-blazed flowers, the nine-headed red-blazed lion had already sensed them. The nine-headed red-blazed lion let out an angry roar and turned to pounce at Lin Feng and Ling Qiushuang. Stop it! Lu Fengxue shouted anxiously. Boom, boom, boom! The golden gods of war charged towards the nine-headed red-blazed lion. At the same time, flying swords slashed at the nine-headed red-blazed lion. In the face of these attacks, the nine-headed red-blazed lion suddenly opened its bloody mouth. The 9 heads of the nine-headed red-blazed lion spat out huge fireballs towards the golden gods of war, Lu Fengxue, and the others. Dodge quickly! Lu Fengxue was shocked. The others' expressions changed drastically as well. They quickly dodged but were still a step too late. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering sound, the fireballs spat out by the nine-headed red-blazed lion exploded. The powerful energy directly drowned all the golden gods of war. In the blink of an eye, the golden gods of war were destroyed. The shockwaves of the energy violently bombarded Lu Fengxue, Yuan Qinxing, Chao Feiyu, and the others. Wow! The 10 of them had suffered a heavy blow, and were coughing up blood. Bang! Then they all fell heavily to the ground. Even though they had been well prepared, the nine-headed red-blazed lion was too strong. It was difficult to resist. The nine-headed red-blazed lion flapped its huge wings and flew towards the cave. Oh no! The nine-headed red-blazed lion is coming! Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. We're doomed! Seeing the nine-headed red-blazed lion flying towards them, Ling Qiushuang's face became as pale as a sheet of paper. Take these red-blazed flowers and leave quickly! Lin Feng took his share and gave the rest to Ling Qiushuang. What about you? Ling Qiushuang asked with a pale face. I'll lure the 9-headed red blaze lion away. As soon as he said that, Lin Feng immediately flew away. Lin Qiushuang bit her lip, stomped her foot, and flew away. Eat my sword! Lin Feng held the black dragon sword and slashed at the 9-headed red blaze lion. Roar! Roared the 9-headed fire lion furiously. It raised its gigantic claws and moved towards Lin Feng in a ferocious manner. Bang! The claws sent Lin Feng flying. Lin Feng was blown dozens of meters away like a cannonball and crashed into the forest. At that moment, Ling Qiushuang had already rushed out and joined Lu Fengxue and the others. When they saw Lin Feng being sent flying by the 9-headed red blaze lion, their expressions changed drastically. Whoosh! Who would have thought that at that moment, Lin Feng would get up as if nothing had happened and rush into the forest and disappear. That guy, I knew he was a cat. He has 9 lives, he won't die. Yuan Qinqing grinned. Roar! In the distance, the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion's roar shook the heavens, and the mountain peaks shook violently from its roar. Disperse, everyone be careful, said Lu Fengxue. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Then, they quickly rushed into the forest and left. Besides, the 9-headed lion was flying at full speed in the sky while roaring furiously. It was glancing at the forest in an ice-cold way, trying to find Lin Feng and the others. Chapter 177. Phew! Lin Feng, who was hiding behind a boulder, let out a long sigh of relief when he saw the furious 9-headed blaze fire lion chasing after him. He walked out from behind the boulder and stretched his body. His body was still in pain. If it had been anyone else, they would have been killed by the 9-headed blaze fire lion's attack. However, Lin Feng cultivated the number 1 archaic forbidden divine technique, the archaic dragonesque elephant art. His body was even stronger than an archaic divine demon of the same level. Although Lin Feng was only a martial master, a martial general's body was not necessarily stronger than Lin Feng's. Therefore, Lin Feng was fine after taking the 9-headed blaze fire lion's attack. Let's go. Lin Feng waved his hand, indicating for the fire qilin to leave quickly. The fire qilin said, What's the rush? We haven't gotten the true treasure that the 9-headed blaze fire lion is guarding. There's no rush to leave. Lin Feng was stunned. Aren't the 9-headed blaze fire lion guarding 12 scarlet flowers? The fire qilin said disdainfully. The scarlet flowers are indeed precious, but they aren't what the 9-headed blaze fire lion is guarding. The 9-headed blaze fire lion is guarding the scarlet blood lotus. Scarlet blood lotus! Lin Feng cried out in surprise. What is that? Ha ha, the scarlet blood lotus is a legendary treasure that can allow a cultivator to condense a second primordial spirit. The fire qilin laughed. What? A second primordial spirit? Lin Feng's eyes widened. Humans only had 1 primordial spirit. Lin Feng had never heard of anyone having 2 primordial spirits. If there really were 2 primordial spirits, then it would be too terrifying. If a cultivator's primordial spirit was destroyed, then that cultivator would die. However, if there was a second primordial spirit, then even if 1 primordial spirit was destroyed, that cultivator wouldn't die. At the same time, if there was a second primordial spirit, then one's soul force would be doubled. For example, Lin Feng's soul force had reached the level of a martial general. However, if he were to condense a second primordial spirit, Lin Feng's soul power could even reach the level of a martial king. Possessing the soul power of a martial king as a martial master, how terrifying was that? There's actually such a treasure in this world? Lin Feng looked at the fire qilin in shock. The fire qilin said, The world is so big, there are naturally all kinds of strange things. When a cultivator condenses a second primordial spirit, it's equivalent to having an extra life. There's no time to lose, let's go and take the scarlet blood lotus now before the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion comes back. If that happens, we won't have a chance. Yes. Lin Feng nodded and rushed towards the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion's dwelling with the fire qilin. In the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion's cave, waves of heat swept over. As soon as he entered, Lin Feng was already sweating profusely. What was even more unbearable was the stench coming from this place. F***ck, as expected of a ferocious beast's cave, it really doesn't care about hygiene. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. He went deeper into the cave. Very quickly, Lin Feng arrived at the depths of the cave. There was a gigantic pond in the middle of the cave, and in the pond was a blood-red lotus. The scarlet blood lotus, it really is the scarlet blood lotus. My guess is correct, the Fire Qilin said happily. I'm really lucky. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He quickly walked towards the scarlet blood lotus and was about to take it when suddenly, Lin Feng felt a cold chi envelop his body. He looked to the left. In the shadows, there was a 9-headed scarlet blaze lion coldly staring at him. Roar! The 9-headed scarlet blaze lion roared and immediately rushed towards Lin Feng. There's another 9-headed scarlet blaze lion. Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. He quickly moved to the side and narrowly avoided the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion. At that moment, Lin Feng could clearly see the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion. The 9-headed scarlet blaze lion in front of him was much smaller than the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion outside. This 9-headed scarlet blaze lion was about 3 meters tall and 5 or 6 meters long. Obviously, it was still a cub. However, ancient fierce beasts were ancient fierce beasts. Even if it was just a cub, it was still very terrifying. Roar! The 9-headed scarlet blaze lion let out a deep roar. After missing its attack, it once again rushed towards Lin Feng. Its speed was extremely fast, and the cave wasn't very big. Therefore, it wasn't easy to completely dodge the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion's attack. The 9-headed scarlet blaze lion's sharp claws directly clawed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng shouted in a low voice. He raised his right fist and punched towards the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion. Bang! The two sides fiercely collided. Lin Feng was directly sent flying by the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion. His body fiercely crashed into the wall. He felt as if his body was about to fall apart. It was just a cub, but it actually had such terrifying power. It was too abnormal. At this time, the 9-headed scarlet blaze lion opened its bloody mouth and continuously shot 9 fireballs towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and he quickly rushed to the right. Rumble! The 9 fireballs all hit the wall, and the wall immediately collapsed. If it hit the body, the power of this attack would be even more terrifying. Lin Feng was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't dare to hesitate, and quickly rushed towards the scarlet blood lotus. The 9-headed scarlet blaze lion roared and pounced towards Lin Feng. At this critical moment, Lin Feng directly displayed his golden wings. Swish! A pair of golden energy wings appeared. Chapter 178. Does the scarlet blood lotus have to be refined directly? Lin Feng looked at the Fire Qilin and asked. The Fire Qilin nodded and said, That's right. However, this process will be very painful. If someone with weak willpower tries to refine the scarlet blood lotus, they will directly collapse. Lin Feng said, I have some confidence in my willpower. He sat cross-legged on the mountain peak and circulated the ancient dragon-esque elephant art to adjust his breathing. Lin Feng felt that he was gradually recovering his strength. He took a deep breath and took out the scarlet flower. The scarlet flower was a 1,000-year-old spiritual herb. This spiritual herb was the most effective when refined into pills. However, it was clear that Lin Feng did not have the conditions to refine the scarlet flower into an earth-tier pill. Although the Fire Qilin bragged about how awesome it was before, after losing its divine power, it could only refine some spiritual liquid. If it wanted to refine such a high-grade pill, it would not be able to complete it without the support of divine power. Thus, Lin Feng decided to swallow the scarlet flower directly. The scarlet flame flower was scorching hot and had a bitter taste. After swallowing it, a scorching hot energy exploded within his body. Hot! Lin Feng felt as if he was in a furnace. His entire body was soaked in sweat. He did not dare to hesitate, and hurriedly circulated the ancient dragonesque elephant art, and began to devour the scarlet flower's medicinal power. When the ancient dragonesque elephant art circulated, the powerful medicinal power of the scarlet flower was broken down and absorbed. Lin Feng only felt that the strength in his body began to increase by leaps and bounds. 2 hours later. Boom! A terrifying wave of energy exploded from Lin Feng's body. Kacha kacha, the surrounding rocks could not withstand the pressure emitted from Lin Feng's body. The huge rocks that were 100 meters tall were instantly crushed into powder. Haha! I've finally broken through to the 6th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. Lin Feng's face was filled with ecstasy. When he was at the 5th heavenly layer of the martial master realm, he already had a strength of 480,000 jin. After refining the scarlet flower, Lin Feng's cultivation had increased greatly. At this moment, he had broken through to the 6th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. Lin Feng's strength had reached 25 million jin. When Lin Feng's 3 devouring martial spirits circulated, he could release a strength of 150 million jin. This strength was enough to crush a 9th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. Although there was still a gap between Lin Feng and the martial master realm, Lin Feng's the martial secret art was too powerful. With the secret martial techniques, Lin's martial master, Lin Feng was convinced that if he fought against Huang Fuyu again, he would definitely be able to defeat him easily. He wouldn't have to use his full strength to defeat Huang Fuyu like the last time. You've broken through to the 6th celestial layer, and your physical strength has reached 50 million jin. You're even stronger than an ancient demon. Of course, the most terrifying thing is that you have 3 devouring spirits. They can increase your strength by 3 times. Your devouring spirit is a legendary spirit. It can create 10 devouring spirits and increase your strength by 10 times. The Fire Qilin said. 10 devouring martial spirits! Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. He had already evolved 3 devouring martial spirits. If he could evolve 10 devouring martial spirits, it would be too heaven-defying. Lin Feng knew that it wouldn't be easy. If he wanted to complete the 2nd evolution of his martial soul, he would have to find some heaven and earth treasures. Lin Feng took out the scarlet blood lotus. The Fire Qilin said, "No matter how painful it is, you have to hold on. Once you let go of that breath, you will fail. You might suffer a backlash. If your soul suffers a backlash, you might even die." Lin Feng nodded solemnly. He swallowed the scarlet blood lotus. Then, he started to circulate the immemorial dragonesque elephant art to refine the scarlet blood lotus. Boom! A terrifying power instantly erupted. Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a miserable scream. That force almost tore his soul apart. It was an indescribable pain. If the pain of having a finger cut off was enough to make a person collapse, the pain that Lin Feng was enduring was 100 times worse than the pain of having a finger cut off. His whole body trembled violently. It was a pain that could destroy a person's will. Lin Feng had the feeling that his soul and his body no longer belonged to him. That kind of pain almost made him collapse. He almost went crazy. Endure! He had to endure. He had to hold on. Once he couldn't bear it. Once he admitted that he had failed. Then, all his previous efforts would be wasted. He would suffer a backlash. His soul would shatter. His body would die. Lin Feng didn't want to die. Lin Feng wanted to live well because there were so many things he wanted to do. Moreover, Lin Feng couldn't bear to leave his family. Lin Feng didn't even have the time to ask his father about one thing that Lin Feng had hidden deep in his heart. That was, why hadn't he seen his mother since he was young? Why hadn't he heard his clansmen mention his mother? Lin Feng remembered that he had asked his father when he was young. But he didn't get an answer. All he got was his father's stern reprimand. Lin Feng had too many things that he couldn't bear to part with. So, he had to hold on. Lin Feng roared. Bang, 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 he punched the ground one after another. The rocks shattered. His fist split open and dripped with blood. Lin Feng continued to pound the ground to relieve his pain. Fire Qilin narrowed its eyes and looked at Lin Feng, slightly moved. If you want to obtain an ability that others will never have, you have to pay a terrible price that others will never think of. Fire Qilin muttered. Bang, 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 punch after punch, he smashed the ground. Lin Feng didn't know how many punches he had thrown. He didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, the pain that was enough to make one collapse was dissipating bit by bit. Lin Feng had finally passed the most painful stage of his cultivation. His expression gradually calmed down. And in Lin Feng's mind, his second primordial spirit was in the process of condensing. A wave of tyrannical soul power surged within his mind like turbulent waves. The soul power that made one's heart palpitate swept out with Lin Feng as the center. The ferocious beasts in the surrounding dozens of miles felt the terrifying soul power and knelt on the ground, trembling as if they had seen an irresistible beast king. Boom! Finally, Lin Feng's second primordial spirit was successfully condensed in his mind. Lin Feng's soul power had increased by a large margin. Soul Sword! Lin Feng circulated his soul power, and the soul power of his two primordial spirits were all activated. He displayed the secret soul technique that he had cultivated and attacked a mountain peak that was 3,000 meters tall. There was a rumbling sound. The mountain peak collapsed with a loud bang. My soul power has reached the martial king realm. Lin Feng stood up, his black hair dancing in the wind. His eyes were like stars, like a young war god standing on the mountain peak, his body exuding an aura that could swallow everything. Chapter 179. Storm Town was located in the central region of the Storm Plains. It was bustling with people. This was the place where countless cultivators who entered the Storm Plains stayed. Lin Feng arrived at Storm Town. On the streets, all kinds of hawking could be heard. Around him, there were rows upon rows of shops and many peddlers. Everyone, come and take a look! Take a look at the newly unearthed ancient artifacts! Someone shouted in the distance, causing a huge uproar. Someone was actually selling ancient artifacts, so it was natural that it would alarm everyone. Many people rushed over. Lin Feng also walked over and saw that the stall was placed on the ground. There were dozens of items on display. Most of them were broken jars, porcelain, a few rusty weapons, and a few scrolls that were about to rot. Damn, this is an ancient artifact? Many people rolled their eyes, feeling as if they had been cheated by this fat stall owner. Fatso said, I say everyone, Fatso is not bragging. These things were all excavated from an ancient expert's cave. They are definitely treasures. You won't lose out if you buy them, but you also won't be fooled. Damn it, you can keep these broken things as chamber pots, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. Some people curled their lips and were not fooled. They planned to leave. Everyone don't go. Look at these 5 scrolls. They all record powerful and mysterious ancient secret techniques. Fatso shouted. Really? Someone was puzzled and stopped. Of course. Fatso nodded. Then, someone squatted down and opened the books. However, too much time had passed. Many of the pages had completely rotted, and the content was missing. In some places, the writing was blurry and it was impossible to see what was written. What kind of broken scroll is this? It has no value at all. The person who was flipping through the scrolls was speechless. He threw the scrolls on the ground and left. Gentlemen, please wait. Not all of the scrolls can't be read clearly. Look at this scroll, there are words like heavenly flames written on it. Maybe it has something to do with heavenly flames. You can go to the shop in the corner and repair it. Maybe you can find some information about heavenly flames. That's heavenly flames we're talking about. Fatso shouted. Keep it for yourself. The others didn't buy it and turned around to leave. Can I have a look at the scroll you mentioned? At this moment, a young man stepped forward. Fatso's face was full of smiles, as if saying, Thank God, someone finally took the bait. Little brother, I can tell that you're different from ordinary people. You're extraordinarily handsome, and there's an indescribable chi in your forehead. You must have obtained a heaven-defying opportunity. You're destined to meet celestial flames, said Lin Feng. Fatso was very good at deceiving people. After a long speech, he handed the tattered scroll to Lin Feng. Lin Feng opened it and looked at it. The scroll was also badly damaged, but in one corner, Lin Feng saw the words Heavenly Flames. This surprised him. Heavenly flames were born at the beginning of the world. Just as the fire Qilin had said, refining heavenly flames into one's body was definitely a heaven-defying fortune. After all, countless years had passed. The 72 types of heavenly flames had also gradually disappeared with the passage of time. This was very normal. I want this scroll, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng said. 100,000 taels of silver. Fatso laughed. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. It's just a stupid book. Why don't you go and steal it? It was found in an ancient ruin. Fatso quibbled. Then I don't want it. Lin Feng turned around to leave. 50,000. Fatso gritted his teeth. 10,000 at most. Deal. In the end, the tattered scroll was sold for 10,000 taels of silver. Fatso still had a happy expression. He knew that this guy must feel that he had made a big profit. However, if this scroll really recorded information about heavenly flames, not to mention a mere 10,000 taels of silver, even a mountain of gold and an ocean of silver would not be able to compare. There's a shop in front that can repair all kinds of things. You can go take a look, Fatso said. Okay. Lin Feng nodded and left with the fire Qilin. You don't really think that this tattered book has information about heavenly flames, do you? The fire Qilin curled its lips and said. Lin Feng said. Although it feels impossible, what if it's true? The fire Qilin nodded and went with Lin Feng to the shop in the corner. On the sign outside, there were prices for repairing all kinds of items. Repairing ordinary divine weapons, 1,000 taels of silver per time. Repairing low-level magic weapons, 10,000 taels of silver per time. Repairing low-level flying swords, 20,000 taels of silver per time. Repairing. There were dozens of items that could be repaired. Lin Feng and the fire Qilin entered the shop. This shop gave Lin Feng a gloomy feeling. Behind the counter stood a skinny old man. This old man had deep eye sockets and a gloomy gaze. Looking at him made one feel a chill in the heart. Lin Feng walked over and took out the scroll. I want to repair the words on this scroll. I don't know if it's possible. Repairing ancient scrolls, 3,000 taels of silver, the old man said. Lin Feng handed the 3,000 taels of silver to the old man. Then, the old man took out some tools, such as some mysterious potions, and began to repair the words on the scroll. An hour later, the old man said, Okay, it's done. Lin Feng came to the counter and looked at the scroll. He frowned slightly because the old man had only repaired a few dozen words. The old man said, The scroll is seriously damaged. It's already quite good that it was repaired to this extent. Okay. Lin Feng nodded. He began to read the content recorded on the scroll. Because there wasn't much content that had been repaired, the content recorded on it was naturally incomplete. Lin Feng could only see some intermittent words. Heavenly fire. Storm plains. Purple core fire. Other than that, there was no other content. Lin Feng showed the words on it to the fire Qilin. The fire Qilin revealed a thoughtful expression. The storm plains was too large. It was almost impossible to find the heavenly fire in the storm plains. This made Lin Feng feel very regretful. There were too few clues, and it was difficult to find too many valuable clues. At this time, the old man said, What? You want to find the heavenly fire? Lin Feng nodded and said, I do have that thought. This old man has heard of a piece of news. The old man's voice was gloomy. Senior, please enlighten me. Lin Feng cupped his fists. The old man said, In the depths of the storm plains, in the undying mountain range, there are rumors that the heavenly fire spirit died there. If the rumors are true, then the origin of the heavenly fire should still be in the undying mountain range. Chapter 180. The Eternal Demon Mountain was one of the 9 great death zones of the Martial Heaven continent. It was rumored that the Eternal Demon Mountain hid the greatest secret of the 3,000 prefectures. It was a forbidden zone for life, filled with endless dangers. It was rumored that an ancient sage emperor had once entered the Eternal Demon Mountain before he died. In the end, he died in the depths of the Eternal Demon Mountain. There were also rumors that several supreme experts of the demon race had wanted to go against the heavens and seize their lives. They had entered the Eternal Demon Mountain to search for immortal medicines of immortality. But in the end, they hadn't been able to leave and had died. There were too many rumors and secrets regarding the Eternal Demon Mountain. Every year, there would be people who would enter the Eternal Demon Mountain in search of opportunities, especially the rumored immortal medicines of immortality. The immortal medicines of immortality were the same as the heavenly flames. They were immortal roots that had been nurtured together with the heavens and earth at the beginning of time. Consuming immortal medicines of immortality would allow one to recover no matter how heavy their injuries were. Of course, the most terrifying thing about immortal medicines of immortality was that they could allow one to live a second life. Birth, old age, sickness, and death. This was something that even ancient sage emperors couldn't reverse. But if one consumed immortal medicines of immortality, they could return to their youth. Furthermore, their strength wouldn't decline. That was too terrifying. It was equivalent to cultivating for 2 lives. Thus, every time an immortal medicine of immortality appeared, it would cause a huge commotion. Because of the immortal medicines of immortality, countless people knew that the Eternal Demon Mountain was a death zone. But every year, there would still be cultivators who weren't afraid of death entering the Eternal Demon Mountain to search for immortal medicines of immortality. Today, Lin Feng had arrived at the Eternal Demon Mountain. This was an endless mountain range. It was shrouded in white mist, and he couldn't see the end of it. He also couldn't see the inside of the Eternal Demon Mountain. About a dozen miles away from the Eternal Demon Mountain, there was a small town. It was built near the Eternal Demon Mountain and was called Eternal Town. People came and went, and it was very lively. Every year, many people would come to pay their respects to the Eternal Demon Mountain. There were also many people who would take the risk of entering the Eternal Demon Mountain. They would pass by this place and rest. Is this heavenly flame really in the Eternal Demon Mountain? Lin Feng looked in the direction of the Eternal Demon Mountain, feeling extremely stifling. It was as if the Eternal Demon Mountain was emitting a terrifying aura that was suffocating. Mysterious, terrifying. This was the feeling that the land of death, the Eternal Demon Mountain, gave Lin Feng. If what's written on the scroll isn't wrong, and if what that old bastard said isn't wrong, then if there really is a heavenly flame in the ancient demon mountains, then it should be the purple earth core flame. Out of the 72 heavenly flames, the purple earth core flame is ranked 67th. It's said that it's a great earth flame, and it's said that it's a heavenly flame born from the heart of the great earth. It's said that it's a heavenly flame born from the beginning of primal chaos, when the heavens and earth were gradually separated. It's said that it's a heavenly flame born from the heart of the great earth. Fire Qilin said. Of course, any one of the 72 heavenly flames was extremely heaven-defying. As long as one could obtain one of them, they would be able to help the person who refined the heavenly flame soar to the sky. Lin Feng said. The primordial demon mountains are filled with danger. Even if the heavenly flame really is inside, we still have to carefully consider whether or not we have the ability to enter the primordial demon mountains and refine the heavenly flame. I don't want to die for nothing. Lin Feng's worries weren't without reason. The Eternal Demon Mountains was a place where countless powerhouses were buried every year. A place like this was simply a burial ground for cultivators. Let's rest in Eternal Town for a few days first, then we'll see what's going on here. Fire Qilin said. Lin Feng nodded, and he settled down in the town. On the second day, Lin Feng went to the outskirts of the primordial demon mountains to observe. There were many cultivators in the surroundings, and many of them were observing the primordial demon mountains. I heard that a group of people entered a month ago, and they still haven't come out. I'm afraid they've already died inside, right? Someone asked. Wanting to enter the primordial demon mountains to look for opportunities isn't an easy task. Another person shook his head, feeling that this matter wasn't too reliable. The primordial demon mountains were too strange and terrifying. Since it was called a place of death, it was obviously a burial ground. Who knew how many people had died in the primordial demon mountains? Wanting to find opportunities in the primordial demon mountains was indeed not an easy task. Of course, there were also some people who weren't afraid of death who entered, but the results were often tragic. At this time, a commotion could be heard in the distance. A silver-haired man in golden robes was walking over. His arrival caused a huge commotion. Genie-chen! Someone cried out in alarm. This person's identity was very shocking. Genie-chen was known as the #1 genius of the Eastern Divine Prefecture. His cultivation had already surpassed the older generation's experts, and he could compete with almighties. He was an abnormally terrifying monster, and now he had appeared in the primordial demon mountains. Genie-chen was like a war god in golden robes. He stood in the air, looking into the depths of the primordial demon mountains. Very quickly, another commotion could be heard. A young man in white robes walked over. He was handsome and confident, and he had a refreshing smile on his face. "That's the Southern Celestial Prefecture's supreme genius, Qin Mubai." Someone recognized the white-robed man's identity and was shocked. Qin Mubai's background was extremely noble. It was rumored that he came from an ancient sect that had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. He was the leader of the sect's younger generation. Even in the Tianwu continent's 3,000 prefectures, Qin Mubai was a top genius. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A loud sound came from the distance, and then everyone saw 9 huge flood dragons pulling a divine chariot quickly fly over. 9 dragons pulling the chariot. Everyone was shocked. Flood dragons, what kind of terrifying existence were they? Now they were just pulling a chariot. Who was sitting in the chariot? Very quickly, the 9 dragons pulled the chariot over and stopped in midair. A young man and a young girl walked out. "Ji Mingtian of the Great Zhou Empire!" Someone cried out in surprise. The Great Zhou Empire was one of the 4 great empires of the Tianwu continent. The 4 great empires were the Great Xia Empire, the Great Zhou Empire, the Great Qin Empire, and the Great Han Empire. These 4 great ancient empires were the strongest forces in the 3,000 prefectures. Even the ancient forces could not be compared to the 4 great ancient empires. Perhaps only the ancient Holy Lands could be on equal footing with the 4 great ancient empires. Ji Mingtian was the 3rd prince of the Great Zhou Empire, and his status was noble. "Is that the Great Zhou Emperor's little princess?" Someone whispered, looking at the girl beside Ji Mingtian. The Great Zhou Emperor had 27 sons, but only 1 daughter, so he doted on her very much. Whoosh! In the distance, there was a 7-colored celestial light lingering. A woman flew over, wearing a 7-colored celestial robe, like a fairy who had fallen from the 9 heavens. "It's Fairy Mengxian of the Fairy Pavilion!" Someone cried out in surprise. The Fairy Pavilion was one of the oldest holy lands in the 3,000 prefectures, and Fairy Mengxian was one of the top 10 beauties of the 3,000 prefectures. Chapter 181. Many people were astonished. They hadn't thought that so many top figures of the younger generation would come. However, after a short moment of shock, they regained their composure. This was because every year, many people would come to pay their respects to this land of death. Not to mention the top characters of the younger generation, even the mortal kings of the 4 ancient dynasties, the saint lords of the ancient sacred grounds, and the school masters of a few ancient sects had come to the Undying Mountains. "The prince and princess of the Great Zhou Empire, I really want to kill them!" The Fire Qilin looked at Ji Mingtian and Ji Yuhan with a fierce gaze. Lin Feng asked suspiciously, "Do you have a grudge against them?" The Fire Qilin said fiercely, "Back then, there was an old bastard from the Great Zhou Empire who attacked me. I was almost cut in half by that old bastard's blade." The Fire Qilin couldn't help but shrink its neck. Back then, the Fire Qilin had stolen the Holy Emperor Stone from a group of heroes. Because of that, it had been surrounded by many experts and had almost died. That was how it had escaped to the Eastern Divine Prefecture. However, after arriving in the Eastern Divine Prefecture, something even more terrifying had happened to the Fire Qilin. The Holy Emperor Stone was very strange. It wanted to control the Fire Qilin's body, causing it to become weaker and weaker. Later, the Fire Qilin had finally managed to break free from the Holy Emperor Stone's control, but it had met Lin Feng. Lin Feng's demon orb had devoured its godly power, turning it into its current state. The Fire Qilin had then thrown the Holy Emperor Stone to Lin Feng as if it was a hot potato. The Holy Emperor Stone was indeed very strange. When Lin Feng had tried to sense it, he had felt a terrifying power trying to control him. Later, Lin Feng had simply stopped touching the Holy Emperor Stone because it was too strange. Back then, the Fire Qilin had been so strong, but it hadn't been able to control the Holy Emperor Stone, let alone the current Lin Feng. The Fire Qilin hated the house and its crow. Back then, it had almost been killed by an ancestor of the Great Zhou Empire, so it hated Ji Mingtian and Ji Yuhan as well. At that moment, Ji Yuhan looked at Lin Feng suspiciously. The Fire Qilin was so scared that it jumped into the forest with a whoosh. Ji Yuhan slightly knitted her brows and looked at Lin Feng with some doubt. Ji Mingtian asked, "What's wrong? What's wrong with that?" Ji Yuhan shook her head slightly and retracted her gaze. "This girl's perception is so strong." The Fire Qilin ran out and muttered, "The princess of the Gu dynasty is not simple at all." Lin Feng stroked his chin and said, "The inheritors of these ancient powers were only a few years older than Lin Feng, but their strength was too terrifying. Which one of them wasn't a powerful figure who had grasped a great divine ability? He was chasing after the experts of the older generation. This was the difference between a large faction and a small faction. The geniuses nurtured by large factions were all unimaginably powerful. Many people looked at these top geniuses and discussed animatedly. These top-tier skyprides looked towards the Undying Mountain Range. They had come here to admire the Undying Mountain Range. "There's nothing to see, just a bunch of broken mountains," Ji Yuhan snorted and said. Fairy Ming Yao, Qin Mubai, and Genie Chen were all extremely powerful figures, so they could naturally hear Ji Yuhan's muttering and shook their heads. Ji Mingtian said, "100,000 years ago, one of our ancestors was a master of fortune. He was almost invincible in the 3,000 provinces. In his old age, he wanted to change his fate, so he entered the Undying Mountain Range and never came out again." Ji Yuhan was silent for a moment, then said, "What kind of dangers are in this place of death? It's hard to say. Some people go in and never come out again, but there are also cultivators who come out without encountering anything, but there are very few of them. They're lucky to be able to come out alive." Boom! At that moment, an earth-shaking sound came from the depths of the Undying Mountain Range. "Heavens, look!" Many people cried out in alarm, their faces full of shock. At that moment, something strange was happening in the depths of the Undying Mountain Range. Endless darkness enveloped the world. It was still daytime, but the sky quickly darkened and turned into darkness. "This is..." The Fire Qilin was shocked. Swish! A Milky Way world suddenly appeared in the sky. That Milky Way world was boundless, as if it was connected to the vast expanse of stars. Moonlight sprinkled down like a waterfall of the Milky Way, magnificent and magnificent. But at that moment, something terrifying and strange happened. A blood-red moon slowly rose into the sky, hanging in the sky. A blood-red moon! How can there be a blood-red moon? Many people cried out in alarm, because the scene in front of them was too strange. "What's that?" Genie Chen narrowed his eyes. "The appearance of a blood-red moon is something recorded in ancient scriptures. It's actually happening." Fairy Meng Yao's expression changed drastically. "A blood-red moon, that's a bad omen." Qin Mubai's expression changed drastically as well. "A blood-red moon has appeared, a great calamity is about to descend." Ji Mingtian's expression was unsightly. "Run!" Something terrifying is about to happen! Shouted the fire Qilin. Even though the fire Qilin didn't have any godly strength, it was still a divine beast, and it could sense danger very well. When it saw the blood-red moon, it knew it was in trouble, so it turned around and ran. Swish! Lin Feng didn't dare flap his wings, so he activated his golden wings and flew away. Let's go! Ji Mingtian's expression changed drastically. He and Ji Yuhun flew towards the Divine Nine Dragon carriage. Qin Mubai, Fairy Ming Yao, Jin Yichen, and the other strong cultivators also sensed danger and immediately flew away. They had to get away from the undying mountain range as quickly as possible. But it was too late. At that moment, a strong wind swept across the sky, wreaking havoc. Many people were sucked in by the wind. Ah no, I don't want to die. Many cultivators were terrified, but they couldn't escape. They were all swallowed up by the wind. Groan! In the distance, the nine-headed flood dragon let out a cry of terror and flew away, but it couldn't escape either. It was swallowed up by the wind. Even strong cultivators like Jin Yichen and Fairy Meng Yao couldn't escape. They were also sucked in by the wind. Run, run, run! Lin Feng flapped his golden wings crazily and flew away. He was too fast, like a bolt of golden lightning. However, Lin Feng still couldn't escape. The wind swept across the sky, and Lin Feng was also sucked in. That destructive force ruthlessly bombarded Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng felt as if an ancient mountain had crashed into him, and then he lost consciousness. Chapter 182. Ah! Lin Feng couldn't help but groan. He felt as if his entire body was falling apart. Lin Feng opened his eyes. His surroundings were pitch black, and he was lying in a forest. What is this place? Lin Feng crawled up from the ground and looked around in confusion. Soon, he recalled what had happened. Not long ago, the blood moon had appeared. Then, a terrifying cold wind blew between heaven and earth, sucking him into the cold wind. Then, he fainted. Is this the interior of the undying mountain range? Lin Feng felt his hair stand on end. He had thought of entering the undying mountain range to look for the heavenly fire. But it was just a thought. The undying mountain range was a land of death. Even the ancestors of the ancient empire had died there. This place was full of danger. The slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Now, he had been dragged in. He didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse. The fire Qilin wasn't by his side now. Lin Feng was worried sick. In the distance, the blood moon was still hanging in the sky, emitting a demonic blood-red light. All of this seemed to be caused by this demonic blood moon. Lin Feng was deep in the mountains. He had to think of a way to leave. Lin Feng chose a direction and walked carefully. At that moment, he saw a dozen figures appear. They were the lucky survivors. When they saw Lin Feng, they couldn't help but sigh. It's good that you're alive. As long as you're alive, there's still hope. Saber Master, you're experienced and knowledgeable. You have to bring us out, a young cultivator in purple said with a pale face. The old man's nickname was Saber Master. He was a very famous person in this area. This time, he had also been dragged into the undying mountain range. Don't worry, we'll definitely be able to get out. Everyone follow me. Don't move around carelessly. Let's go, Master Dao said. Yes. Everyone nodded and followed Saber Master. Lin Feng learned from a cultivator next to him that when Dao Yu was young, he had gone to the Immortal Mountain Range with his ancestors. But back then, all his ancestors had died in the Immortal Mountain Range. Dao Yu was the only one who had come out alive. Saber Master had been ill for 3 years. He had gradually recovered, but since then, he had never mentioned anything about the undying mountain range. Something must have happened in the past that no one knew about. Look, that's a blood spirit grass. It's 10 leaves. Suddenly, one of the cultivators exclaimed. He pointed at a stalk of spiritual medicine growing on a cliff a few dozen meters away. Lin Feng looked over and saw a medicinal herb with 10 blood-red leaves. A 2,000-year-old spiritual herb. If he were to refine it, his cultivation would definitely soar by leaps and bounds. Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Someone wanted to go and pick the blood spirit grass. Are you tired of living? You'll get everyone killed, Saber Master said coldly. The faces of the several cultivators who were about to take action flickered slightly, and they halted their steps. Saber Master, it's not far from us. There shouldn't be any problems, right? Some people were unwilling to leave just like that and asked aloud. Saber Lord said coldly, This is the Immortal Mountain Range, a place of death. Every place can be dangerous. In the past, even saints died in the Immortal Mountain Range. You should know how terrifying it is. If you're not careful, you can kill everyone. Saber Master's attitude was unprecedentedly firm. No one was allowed to act on their own and leave the group. Everyone continued moving forward. Look, there's a magical treasure! Someone cried out in alarm. An ancient bell magical treasure had fallen on the ground. It was emitting terrifying waves of energy. Lin Feng was shocked. It was obviously a high-grade magical treasure. At the very least, it had been refined by a yin-yang cultivator. It emitted waves of energy that made people feel suffocated. The appearance of this magical treasure naturally caused a huge commotion. Some people were eager to try. Saber Master said coldly, Don't touch it. These things don't belong to us. Saber Master, they're very close to us. Why don't they belong to us? This is our destiny, said a young man in cyan. What? You want them? You can? Wait here. Once we're far away, you can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with us. Saber Master sneered. Saber Master's attitude was unyielding. No one was allowed to leave the group. Otherwise, they would have to leave. Everyone was still hoping to leave with Saber Master. Even though they were unwilling, they didn't want to disobey Saber Master at this time. However, on the way, they saw all kinds of magical treasures and all kinds of magical medicines. Saber Master didn't allow them to leave the group, so they missed them. They're all dead people's belongings. You can imagine what kind of strong cultivators they were, but they still died here. They turned into dust a long time ago, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. Saber Master said. Everyone shivered and didn't dare say anything else. After walking for a long time, everyone felt tired and rested where they were. At that moment, Lin Feng smelled a faint fragrance in the air. In an instant, he felt his fatigue disappear. He was instantly full of energy. Oh my God, what's going on? It's that magical medicine! Someone cried out. Not far away, there was a magical medicine. It was a 7-colored magical medicine. It emitted a 7-colored light and a faint fragrance. 7-colored grass, it's the legendary 7-colored grass. It's said that it grows for 10,000 years and has 7 colors. This is a 10,000-year-old magical medicine! A middle-aged cultivator shouted excitedly. A 10,000-year-old magical medicine! Everyone felt their mouths and tongues go dry. Everyone knew what a 10,000-year-old magical medicine meant. It was said that a 10,000-year-old magical medicine could bring back the dead. The meaning was simple. As long as you still had a breath left, no matter how serious your injuries were, you could recover very quickly after eating a 10,000-year-old magical medicine. A 10,000-year-old magical medicine wasn't like an immortal medicine that could allow a person to live a second life, but its healing effects weren't much worse than an immortal medicine. It was a supreme magical medicine that could save a person's life at a critical moment. And now, a 10,000-year-old magical medicine appeared in front of everyone a dozen meters away. Someone moved. The young man couldn't wait any longer and walked towards the magical medicine. The young man in purple shouted, Fan Xian, do you want to die? Fan Xian sneered. Zishao, you're too cowardly. Nothing will happen to you. Just watch me pick the 10,000-year-old magical medicine. Ha ha, come back here. Saber Master's expression changed greatly. Fan Xian said coldly, Saber Master, you're really old. You don't have the spirit you had when you were young. Don't worry, after I pick this magical medicine and sell it to those ancient powers, you won't be short of a share of benefits. Fan Xian didn't plan on coming back. Saber Master's expression became gloomy. Fan Xian walked in front of the magical medicine and reached out to grab it. Lin Feng and the others watched nervously, but Fan Xian didn't seem to be in any danger. Just as Fan Xian was about to pick the 10,000-year-old magical medicine, something terrifying happened. Everyone saw that Fan Xian's body was aging at a speed visible to the naked eye. He was originally a young man in his 20s, but in the blink of an eye, he became a middle-aged man in his 40s. In the next moment, he became an old man with a hunched back. His entire body was withered like a candle in the wind. No. Fan Xian looked at his own hands and body in disbelief. He let out an extremely terrified cry. A gust of wind blew, and Fan Xian fell to the ground. Time was the quickest thing to do. In just a few breaths' time, Fan Xian had turned from a young man in his 20s to an old man. He had lost all of his life force and died in front of the 10,000-year-old magical medicine, turning into a pile of bones. Chapter 183. Time made beauties grow old, and time made heroes past their prime. But now, Fan Xian's time and life had been taken away by an unknown force. Lin Feng and the others couldn't find words to describe how they felt when they saw a young man in his 20s turn into an old man in the blink of an eye. From the pale expressions on their faces, one could tell that at this very moment, everyone's hearts were extremely heavy. Saber Lord said, "I told you not to leave the group." "Fan Xian, you died so tragically!" shouted Zishao sorrowfully. It was obvious that Zishao and Fan Xian had a good relationship. Take care of yourself. Whether or not you'll make it out alive is another matter, but you're actually in the mood to grieve for a dead man. What a joke, sneered Saber Lord. His words made Zishao's face turn extremely pale. Can we really make it out alive? We won't end up like Fan Xian, will we? Will we die tragically here? Laments could be heard coming from the group. Everyone's faces were ugly and worried. Lin Feng patted Zishao's shoulder and said, "The dead can't be brought back to life. My condolences." Zishao nodded. The two of them sat down on the ground. Zishao asked, "Brother, how should I address you?" Lin Feng. Zishao. The two of them introduced themselves and fell silent. Zishao said, "Fan Xian and I are both outer sect disciples of the Qingyang sect. We came here to pay our respects to the Undying Mountains, but we didn't think that Fan Xian would die here." The Qingyang sect was one of the top powers in the East Province. It was an ancient power that could contend with the 10 great ancient cities of the East Province. Zishao and Fan Xian had to be extremely strong to become outer sect disciples of the Qingyang sect. Of course, the Undying Mountains were a terrifying place that could bury the ancestors of ancient dynasties. In this place, anyone could die. Lin Feng said, "I hope we can make it out alive." After resting for 4 hours, Saber Lord said, "It's time to go." Everyone got up and continued to follow behind Saber Lord. Suddenly, a cultivator at the back of the group let out a miserable cry. He fell to the ground and started twitching violently. "What happened? What's wrong with him?" Everyone's expression changed drastically. Suddenly, tiny creatures crawled out from the soil. There was no telling how many of them there were, but they covered the body of the fallen cultivator. In a few breaths of time, only a skeleton was left of the cultivator. Then, the second cultivator fell to the ground. "Save me! Save me!" He screamed in horror and reached out to everyone for help. "Let's go!" Saber Lord shouted in a deep voice as he quickly ran forward. No one dared to stay, nor did they dare to help. The scene just now was too terrifying. A living cultivator turned into a skeleton in an instant. He didn't know what those blood-red creatures were. Everyone quickly ran forward, and the blood-red creatures covered the second cultivator's body. Soon, the second cultivator was only left with a pile of bones, and the blood-red creatures drilled into the ground and disappeared without a trace. It's too scary. It's really too scary. It's like hell on earth. Everyone felt their blood run cold. The undying mountain range was full of dangers. They could lose their lives here at any time. Damn it, if I can go back alive, I won't come to such a dangerous place in the future, someone said fiercely. Saber Lord sneered and said, If you have the energy, why don't you talk less and conserve more energy? With more energy you might have a better chance of getting out alive than others. The fog became thicker and thicker, and the blood-red moon in the sky became even more demonic. In the forest, a cold wind blew. Lin Feng and the others couldn't help but shiver. It was a cold wind that was difficult to resist. It was so cold that it penetrated into people's bones. Saber Lord, how long will it take for us to get out? A cultivator asked in a trembling voice. This was something that everyone wanted to know. Everyone looked at Saber Lord. Maybe after 6 or 7 more mountains, we should be able to get out, Saber Lord said. Everyone's expression became more and more unsightly. After 6 or 7 mountains, how many dangers would they encounter on the way? Boom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound came from the distance. Everyone turned to look. They saw the Milky Way fall from the sky. What's that? Everyone looked at the Milky Way in confusion. First, it was the blood-red moon, then the Milky Way. The undying mountain range was too strange. The Milky Way fell from the 9th heaven and connected with an ancient abyss in the depths of the undying mountain range. Heavens, what's that? Suddenly, someone shouted in horror and pointed at the Milky Way world. In the Milky Way world, a few people appeared. No, to be precise, not all of them were people. Among them was a middle-aged cultivator and a woman. They were both from the human tribe. However, there was also a silver-haired cultivator who looked similar to the human tribe but had 2 horns on his head. The 4th person was a man with a pair of wings on his back. In the Milky Way that fell from the 9th heaven, 4 mysterious cultivators appeared out of nowhere. Their clothes were very ancient, and they obviously didn't belong to this era. Are they all dead? Zishao muttered. This was because the 4 ancient cultivators had their eyes closed, and no life force could be felt from them. The Milky Way is falling corpses, the Milky Way is falling corpses, it's a great omen, run! Saber Lord shouted in horror and took the lead to run into the distance. Now, the surrounding fog lingered, and Saber Lord disappeared in an instant. Lin Feng and the others quickly chased after him, but Saber Lord was already gone. Ah! Suddenly, a cultivator let out a scream. He looked at the Milky Way world and let out a low growl. He ran towards the Milky Way world. As he ran, his body quickly dried up and soon became a dried corpse. He fell to the ground and died. Heavens, what's going on? Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Everything that happened in front of them was too terrifying. The cultivator just now seemed to have been summoned by the Milky Way world. Roar, roar, roar. Another 3 cultivators ran uncontrollably towards the Milky Way world. Soon, they also became 3 dried corpses. Their flesh and blood seemed to have been sucked dry. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. In the face of death, no one could remain calm. Roar. Lin Feng also let out a low growl. He felt that he couldn't control his body and wanted to rush towards the Milky Way world. Brother Lin, don't. Zishao hugged Lin Feng and quickly took out the pendant hanging on his body. It was a golden ancient Buddha. Gu Shao bit his finger and dripped his blood on it. Namo Amitabha. The golden ancient Buddha suddenly said. The golden Buddha's light illuminated the sky. Lin Feng's mind floated out of a black chi and dissipated in the void. He came back to his senses and broke out in cold sweat. It was really too dangerous. If he had really run towards the Milky Way world, he might have become a dried corpse like the others. Chapter 184. Roar! 2 more cultivators could no longer control their bodies. They let out deep roars and rushed toward the falling Milky Way world. Their bodies gradually dried up, and finally, They turned into two dried corpses and fell to the ground. "Quick, hide under the Buddha's light!" Zishao shouted loudly. The rest of the people didn't dare to hesitate. They quickly ran over and hid under the Buddha's light. The Buddha's light protected everyone. No one rushed towards the Milky Way world like the others before. "Brother Z, thank you so much," Lin Feng said gratefully. "You're welcome." Zishao revealed a rather ugly smile. Although Zizhao's golden Buddha had protected everyone, this was only temporary. The undying mountain range was full of danger. Everyone was still worried that other dangers would come. Zizhao's face was naturally full of worry. "Are there only 10 of us left?" Lin Feng muttered. "The rest are dead," a middle-aged cultivator said in a low voice. "Dao Kui abandoned us and ran away," another cultivator said fiercely. "We can't stay here for long." "Let's go," Lin Feng said. The group of 10 quickly left. They were far away from the place where the Milky Way world had fallen. Phew! After running for 30 miles, everyone finally found a place to rest. Zishao put the golden Buddha into his arms. Lin Feng said, "Brother Z, this treasure of yours is really powerful." Zishao said, "This is the last thing my mother left me." Zizhao's mother was probably no longer alive. His voice was very low. Lin Feng patted Zizhao's shoulder. "Let's find a place to rest for the night. Hopefully, we can survive this night. It might be safer if we travel during the day," one of the cultivators said. Everyone nodded. Everyone planned to find a secluded place to hide. Roar! At this moment, a low roar came from the forest. Then, an extremely terrifying aura spread throughout the forest. In the darkness, a ferocious beast stepped out. It was a silver ferocious beast. Its body was huge, at least 10 meters tall and 20 meters long. Its entire body was covered in thick silver-white scales. That ferocious beast had a ferocious and terrifying head and sharp fangs. Its eyes were pale green as it coldly stared at Lin Feng and the others. After seeing this ferocious beast, everyone felt their scalps tingle. This ferocious beast made everyone feel suffocated. It was as if he was facing an undefeatable god. Lin Feng wanted to run away, but he found that his feet were like lead, and he couldn't lift them at all. "It's over." The situation of the others was not much better. Everyone's face was incomparably pale and bloodless, and their expressions were filled with incomparable despair. Everyone's body was trembling violently. The ferocious beast walked towards them step by step. Rumble! At this moment of life and death, the ground suddenly shook violently. In the depths of the undying mountain range, smoke and dust rose everywhere. Roar! The ferocious beast let out a terrified cry, turned around, and fled into the forest, disappearing without a trace. The pressure that the ferocious beast brought to Lin Feng and the others disappeared without a trace. Everyone let out a long breath. But soon they felt their hair stand on end. Because, in the depths of the undying mountain range, some terrifying existence seemed to have rushed out. That ferocious beast was scared away by the terrifying existence that rushed out from the depths of the undying mountain range. "Look, isn't that a huge army?" Zishao pointed at the depths of the mountain range and said in horror. Lin Feng and the others looked over and saw a terrifying scene. They saw an army rushing out from the smoke and dust. It was unknown how many people there were in that army. They wore pitch-black armor and held spears in their hands. A thick aura of death permeated the air. An army of the dead. It's the legendary army of the dead. Rumor has it that an army of the dead appears in the undying mountain range. No one knows where they come from, but they reap all lives. Someone once saw this huge army of the dead wandering around the periphery of the undying mountain range, as if they wanted to rush out, but in the end, they retreated and disappeared. We must have encountered this army of the dead! A cultivator cried out in horror. Wherever the army of the dead passed, all living things would die. Hurry up and run! Terrified cries came from afar. They should be the survivors who had been swept into the undying mountain range and had now encountered the army of the dead. No, I don't want to die. An extremely terrified cry was heard, but it soon disappeared. Those cultivators had probably been killed by the army of the dead. Roar! Following that, an earth-shattering roar of a beast was heard, causing the mountains to shake. This was a ferocious beast whose strength was unimaginably terrifying. But soon, the beast's aura disappeared. Dead, they're all dead. Even such a powerful beast is dead. The army of the dead is coming out. We're all dead. A cultivator cried out in despair, his whole body trembling. The shadow of death loomed over everyone's heart. Hide, there's a cave over there. Quick, let's hide. Lin Feng pointed a few dozen meters away. He saw a cave. Everyone ran towards the cave in a panic. Lin Feng moved a gigantic stone and blocked the entrance of the cave. Rumble, the ground shook violently. The army of the dead was rushing out from the depths of the cave. Hold your breath and wait for the army of the dead to pass. Don't make any noise, Lin Feng said in a low voice. Everyone nodded and quickly held their breaths. Then they leaned against the walls of the cave, not daring to move. Rumble! Rumble! The ground shook violently. Lin Feng was at the entrance of the cave. Through the gap between the cave and the huge rock, he saw the huge army of the dead rushing into the distance. Wherever the army of the dead passed, not a single blade of grass grew. Countless plants withered in an instant, as if all their vitality had been sucked away by the army of the dead. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. This army of the dead was too terrifying. Finally, the army of the dead rushed into the distance and disappeared without a trace. Are we safe now? Zishao asked. They seem to have left. I don't know if the army of the dead will start searching, Lin Feng said. Let's not go out. Let's hide here and hope we can avoid this disaster, a cultivator said. Everyone agreed that it was too dangerous outside. Lin Feng nodded and said, Everyone is tired. Lean against the wall and rest. Everyone began to rest. Bang! However, 4 hours later, a loud sound was heard, and the rock blocking the entrance of the cave shattered. In the next moment, an undead wearing black armor and holding a blood saber rushed in. Chapter 185. It's an undead soldier! Lin Feng was the first to regain his senses and shouted loudly. The rest of the people were also awakened. Seeing the undead soldier rushing in, they all had an incomparably terrified expression. The pitch-black armor worn by the undead soldier was already in tatters. Some parts of its body were even exposed, emitting a foul smell. But even so, this undead soldier was still terrifying. The aura it emitted was suffocating. The undead soldier waved its blood blade and slashed towards a cultivator. Ah, my life is over! That cultivator let out a terrified cry, his entire body trembling. Clang! At the critical moment, Lin Feng made his move. He waved the black dragon sword and fiercely collided with the blood blade in the undead soldier's hand. The undead soldier's strength was too terrifying. It actually sent Lin Feng flying. With a loud bang, Lin Feng's body fiercely hit the rock wall. A wave of intense pain swept through his body. Hurry up and run! 2 of the cultivators screamed in horror and ran outside. No, don't go out! Lin Feng roared. But it was already impossible to stop the 2 cultivators. The 2 cultivators were also unable to escape. The undead soldier was simply a terrifying death god that harvested lives. It waved the blood blade in its hand. Puff puff! The 2 cultivators' heads were directly chopped off. Headless corpses soared into the sky. The 2 cultivators died tragically on the spot. Heavens! Everyone felt their scalps go numb. The undead soldier was too powerful. Although it was only one undead soldier, it still made everyone feel despair. Let's attack together. Today, either he dies or we die. Facing the crisis of life and death, Lin Feng became calmer. He took a deep breath, held the black dragon sword with both hands, and once again charged towards the undead soldier. Kill him! As for the rest of the people, the ruthlessness in their bones was also stimulated. At the moment of life and death, They could only fight with their lives on the line. Only then would they have a chance of survival. Otherwise, only death would await them. Swish! Everyone took out their weapons and charged towards the undead soldier. In the cave, a cold light rippled. Hee hee hee! The undead soldier let out a burst of sinister laughter. That laughter sent chills down one's spine. Facing the siege of Lin Feng and the others, the undead soldier waved the blood saber in his hand. With one move, he swept away an army and sent everyone flying. Terrifying, too terrifying. It was simply impossible to resist. This caused everyone to feel a deep sense of despair. The undead soldier swung his blade at a cultivator. Ancient Buddha! Zishao roared. He took out the golden ancient Buddha and used his blood to paint the ancient Buddha's body. Namo Amitabha! At this moment, the golden ancient Buddha spoke again. The light of Buddha shone upon the earth. Ah! That night, Lin Feng and the others avoided more than 10 waves of undead soldiers. The sky gradually began to brighten. The blood moon hanging in the sky seemed to be disappearing. However, the fog in the forest was getting thicker. Lin Feng missed the fire qilin very much. He didn't know where it had been swept to. If it was by his side, with the fire qilin's experience, it might be able to bring everyone out. Ah! Suddenly, one of the cultivators screamed. He fell to the ground. Everyone quickly ran over. They found that the cultivator was completely unharmed and had died silently. They didn't know what had happened. What terrifying thing has happened again? Run, run quickly! The rest of the people shouted in fear and quickly ran into the distance. Ah! There were continuous screams. Clearly, they had all met with misfortune. Let's go quickly, Lin Feng said. He and Zishao quickly rushed into the distance. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt a terrifying force coming towards him. The fog was too thick. He couldn't see clearly what was attacking him. Lin Feng used his golden wings and quickly moved dozens of meters away to avoid the attack. Ah! There was a scream. It was Zizhao's voice. Then, the forest returned to normal. The person who had attacked seemed to have disappeared. Lin Feng quickly rushed to Zishao, who had already fallen to the ground. Brother Z, are you okay? Lin Feng picked up Zizhao's body. Brother Lin, I'm afraid I can't make it. My parents died when I was young. Now, I only have a little sister left. Brother Lin, please help me take care of her. Take my jade pendant. My father gave it to me. Zishao stuffed a jade pendant into Lin Feng's hand. After that, there was no sign of life. Brother Z, how could this be? Shouted Lin Feng. Very quickly, Lin Feng realized that something was wrong. The golden Buddha statue Zishao had been wearing around his neck had disappeared. The Buddha statue disappeared. Was it someone? Lin Feng thought of a possibility. Someone must have tried to kill them all and steal Zizhao's golden Buddha statue. That golden Buddha statue had been very powerful. It had helped Lin Feng and the others many times. Who was it? Who was it? Lin Feng clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with endless anger. They had wanted to kill everyone for the golden Buddha statue. Zishao had died tragically because of that. I will find this person. I will kill him! Lin Feng clenched his teeth. He still remembered when he had lost control of the Milky Way world and had rushed towards it. Zishao had saved his life. He still remembered that handsome and clean smile. Now Zishao had turned into a cold corpse. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with tears. Who said that men didn't cry? Chapter 186. Lin Feng buried Zizhao's body in the undying mountain range. With Qishan as your companion, my friend, have a safe journey. I will definitely take good care of your sister. Lin Feng clutched the jade pendant Zishao had given him before he died. He traveled alone. In order to survive, he had to face countless unimaginable dangers. But Lin Feng knew. He had to persevere. In the darkness, undead soldiers appeared from time to time. They were death gods in the darkness, harvesting lives. Lin Feng avoided the undead army's search. Finally dawn arrived. Asterisk rumble, asterisk an earth-shattering sound rang out, and the earth shook. The undead army gathered again and rushed into the depths of the undying mountain range. Lin Feng hid in the dark, not even daring to breathe. This undead army was too mysterious and too terrifying. No one knew where they came from. Smoke and dust rose. The undead army finally disappeared from sight. The blood moon hanging in the 9 heavens gradually descended. That blood moon rose from the depths of the undying mountain range. Lin Feng was shocked. Why was it not in the depths of the undying mountain range? Why would a moon rise? But no one could tell Lin Feng the answer. Perhaps this was the horror of the undying mountain range. This was a place of death that was so demonic that it made one's soul tremble. The black fog drifting in the forest also gradually disappeared. In the morning, the occasional chirping of insects and birds could be heard. It was just that in the undying mountain range, it was not pleasant to the ears. Lin Feng was very careful because the undying mountain range was too dangerous. Even during the day, he did not dare to be careless. Roar! In the distance, there was a low roar. A beast appeared. It was a giant flaming beast, 100 meters tall. Its body was surrounded by raging flames. It was unknown what race it was, but it was abnormally terrifying. Lin Feng hid behind a boulder and observed the flaming beast. It was definitely an unimaginably terrifying existence. During the day, it began to move. The forest suddenly became quiet. There was a deathly silence. No one dared to make a sound in front of such a terrifying beast. In the end, the flame beast left and entered the depths of the undying mountain range. Whoosh! Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. That flame beast had given him too much pressure. Fortunately, that flame beast quickly left. Lin Feng didn't dare to stay and continued to walk outside. After walking a few hundred meters, he heard a rustling sound. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He thought that a terrifying beast had appeared. He pulled out the black dragon sword and looked behind him with a grave expression. "Come out!" Lin Feng shouted coldly. However, the forest became quiet. "If you don't come out, I'm going to attack." Lin Feng brandished the black dragon sword and slashed out. A sword she flew out and instantly chopped a large tree into 2. Whoosh! Right at this moment, a figure flashed out from behind the tree. "It's you!" Lin Feng was shocked. He didn't expect a young girl to be following behind him. Ji Yuhan, the little princess of the Great Zhou Empire, one of the 4 ancient empires. Humph! Ji Yuhan snorted unhappily and looked at Lin Feng warily. Ji Yuhan was slightly younger than Lin Feng. She was about 13 or 14 years old. At this moment, she seemed to be in a sorry state. Clearly, after being swept into the undying mountain range, she had encountered some trouble. It wasn't easy for her to survive until now alone. "Are you going out with me?" Lin Feng asked. Ji Yuhan nodded slightly. She carefully walked towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. "What are you afraid of?" "There were a few bad cultivators yesterday," Ji Yuhan couldn't help but say. It seemed that she had encountered other cultivators. "What happened to those cultivators?" Lin Feng asked. "They were eaten by a giant beast." Ji Yuhan snorted. "You're quite lucky to be able to escape," Lin Feng said. "Those bad people wanted to bully me, so I summoned a beast to eat them. If you dare to bully me, I'll summon a beast to eat you too." Ji Yuhan snorted. Hearing Ji Yuhan's words, Lin Feng almost fell to the ground. Could it be that this innocent girl was hiding a black-bellied heart? Ji Yuhan followed behind Lin Feng and asked, "What's your name?" "Lin Feng." "I'm your Ji Yuhan. Do you know me?" "I've heard of you. You're the apple of the great Zhou Emperor's eye." "Humph." Ji Yuhan snorted noncommittally. "Where's your elder brother?" asked Lin Feng. He was thinking about Ji Mingtian, that terrifying cultivator. "I don't know. When I woke up, I didn't see him." Ji Yuhan sighed and said, "How long will it take for us to get out?" I'm so scared here, Lin Feng said. Maybe soon. Really? Ji Yuhan asked excitedly. I hope so. Lin Feng shrugged. You're lying. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Ji Yuhan snorted. The sky gradually darkened. The blood moon rose into the sky, and black fog lingered around it. We need to find a place to hide. Perhaps the undead army will appear soon, Lin Feng said in a low voice. Ji Yuhan thought of the undead army she saw last night, and her face paled. She reached out and grabbed Lin Feng's clothes, her body trembling slightly. Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan looked for a place to hide. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept over. Bang! The wind swept Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan into the air. A figure silently appeared and sent a palm strike towards Ji Yuhan. The person who attacked was too terrifying. The power contained in that palm seemed to be able to make the sky collapse in an instant. It was definitely an unimaginably strong existence. He seemed to have come specifically for Ji Yuhan. Bang! Ji Yuhan attacked, and her palm collided fiercely with the mysterious person. Then, Ji Yuhan was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. She spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. The black figure quickly flew towards Ji Yuhan, wanting to kill her. At that moment, a golden figure quickly rushed in front of Ji Yuhan and hugged her. It was Lin Feng. He flapped his golden wings and quickly retreated. The palm strike of the mysterious existence landed in midair. You're courting death, the man in black said coldly. His eyes flashed with killing intent. He was about to attack again, but at that moment, a rumbling sound came from the depths of the undead mountain range. The undead army had appeared. The mysterious person's expression changed slightly. He hesitated for a moment, then flew away. Lin Feng didn't dare stay there. He quickly left with the injured Ji Yuhan. Chapter 187. In the darkness of the night, Lin Feng found a hidden cave. Now that the evil spirits had appeared again, they could only hide in a hidden cave to avoid being found by the evil spirits. The undying mountain range was even more terrifying in the dark. How are you feeling? Lin Feng looked at Ji Yuhan worriedly. Her face was extremely pale. The person who had attacked Ji Yuhan was too strong. Ji Yuhan had been able to block his attack without dying, which was enough to show how strong she was. However, she was still injured. I'm in pain. Ji Yuhan's face was scrunched up because of the pain. Her eyes were filled with tears. With your background, you should have some precious medicine to heal your injuries. Quickly take it out and eat it, Lin Feng reminded her. Ji Yuhan came back to her senses and quickly took out a porcelain bottle. She poured out a pill and ate it. Her face became a little rosier. Of course, she still needed some time to fully recover. Do you know who the person who wants to kill you is? Lin Feng asked. Ji Yuhan shook her head. Lin Feng thought about Si Zhao's tragic death. Someone had killed him and stolen his golden Buddha. Could it be that the mysterious person wanted to kill Ji Yuhan to steal her treasures? Or did he have other motives? Of course, that was only Lin Feng's guess. He didn't know the exact reason. You should rest well, said Lin Feng. Ji Yuhan nodded. She was indeed very tired and injured. She needed to rest. She blushed and said, Can you lean on me? I'm scared. Lin Feng sat beside Ji Yuhan. Ji Yuhan lay in Lin Feng's arms. Her face was pink, and she was obviously a little shy. However, only by leaning on Lin Feng did she feel a little relieved. Ji Yuhan quickly fell asleep. Lin Feng didn't fall asleep until late at night. However, this night wasn't peaceful at all. The roars of beasts shook the sky. It seemed as if there were powerful beasts, and the undead army engaged in a crazy battle, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. In the undying mountain range, there were many ferocious beasts with strength comparable to human supreme experts. After encountering the undead army, these ferocious beasts naturally wouldn't flee like ordinary ferocious beasts. These powerful ferocious beasts had their own dignity. Hence, Lin Feng wasn't surprised that a war broke out. This battle seemed to involve a lot of things. More than one powerful beast had come out to fight. The next day, when Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan came out, they found that the surrounding forest had been completely destroyed. It was a scene of devastation. The battle between the beasts and the undead last night should have been quite tragic. Whether it was the undead or the dire beasts, they were all extremely terrifying forces in the Death Impasse. They were obviously fighting for the ownership of the Death Impasse. During the day, Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan continued on their journey. Because Ji Yuhan was injured, Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan didn't walk very fast. In the evening, Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan saw a huge battle. It was a battle between more than 10 cultivators and a living creature in the Death Impasse. It was a living creature shrouded in darkness. It was unknown what race it was, but its speed was extremely fast. Swish! That ferocious beast seemed to be able to teleport. In an instant, it appeared in front of a cultivator and slapped out with its claw. Bang! That cultivator was sent flying and died on the spot. That ferocious beast was too terrifying. It killed that cultivator in an instant. Run! These cultivators fled in a sorry state. However, that ferocious beast shrouded in darkness looked at these fleeing cultivators with a playful gaze like a cat playing with a mouse. It chased after them at a leisurely pace. Every time it attacked, a cultivator would be killed by that terrifying living creature. One cultivator after another was killed. More than 10 cultivators weren't enough to kill that ferocious beast. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 people left. These 3 people were an old man, a middle-aged cultivator, and a beautiful woman in her 30s. The old man used some unknown secret technique, and his body exploded into a bloody mist. He flew into the distance and disappeared in the blink of an eye. As for the middle-aged cultivator, he drilled into the ground. It was the earth escape technique. The middle-aged cultivator wanted to use the earth escape technique to escape. However, that ferocious beast shrouded in black mist slapped the ground. A terrifying force slammed into the ground. Puff! A pool of blood spurted out. The cultivator who had escaped into the ground was killed. Only the beautiful woman was left. That terrifying ferocious beast charged towards the beautiful woman. Unwilling to be killed, she counterattacked with all her might. However, she was still sent flying. The beautiful woman's strength was clearly not ordinary. She wasn't killed by that mysterious ferocious beast's claw. However, her current situation wasn't good. After being attacked by the ferocious beast, she could no longer control her body. Her body fell towards the ground. That mysterious ferocious beast pounced towards the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman's face was filled with despair. Just as the beautiful woman was about to be killed by the ferocious beast, a golden figure rushed out like lightning. The beautiful woman felt her small waist being held by someone. In the next moment, she was already dozens of meters away. The beautiful woman didn't think that she was still alive. She looked up and saw a delicate and young face. Don't fly at high altitudes. The undying mountain range is shrouded in a powerful restriction. Once touched, even a yin-yang expert will be instantly killed. The beautiful woman reminded him. Lin Feng was shocked. He didn't think that there would be such a terrifying restriction above the undying mountain range. He quickly lowered his altitude, flapped his golden wings, and flew to Ji Yuhan's side. He hugged the beautiful woman with his left hand and Ji Yuhan with his right. They quickly flew away. The ferocious beast shrouded in black fog roared, but it couldn't catch up with Lin Feng. When night fell again, Lin Feng couldn't find a hidden cave. He only found a relatively hidden mountain stream. It was at the junction of 2 mountains, but it was very small. It could only fit 3 people. However, as long as they blocked the entrance with stones, nobody would be able to find them. We'll hide here for a night. It's been a tiring night. In 2 or 3 days, we'll be able to leave the undying mountain range, Lin Feng said. All right. Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman nodded. Lin Feng told them to go in first, but at that moment, 2 people appeared in the distance. They were 2 young cultivators who seemed to be in their 20s. It was obvious that they were looking for a place to hide because it was going to be completely dark soon. The two of you, we've already occupied this place. Please find another place, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng said. F*CK, what bad luck. Let's go somewhere else. The cultivator in blue clothes said. The other cultivator in white clothes said. Why are we leaving? Look, one big and one small, two top-grade beauties. We can't believe we're able to meet such beauties in this damned place. We're really lucky. The cultivator in blue clothes also looked at Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman. His eyes were filled with lust. The cultivator in blue clothes laughed mischievously. We've been suppressed in this damned place for so long. We can finally vent. He looked gloomily at Lin Feng and smiled nastily. Boy, you can scram now. If you don't know what's good for you, we brothers will let you taste a fate worse than death. Chapter 188. Obviously, these two cultivators were plotting against Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman was called Dan Taixian. She had a voluptuous figure, long legs, a slender waist, and a pair of luxurious twin peaks. Moreover, her face was extremely beautiful, and her entire body exuded a seductive charm like a ripe peach. Any man who saw such a beautiful woman would have some beastly thoughts. As for Ji Yuhan, although she was young, her body had already matured. She had an exquisite face and a tall figure. In a place like the undying mountain range, there was no one to restrain him. It seemed to be quite normal for him to have evil thoughts after encountering such a beautiful woman. If Lin Feng chose to leave, the injured Ji Yuhan and Dan Taixian would definitely not be a match for these two people. At that time, they would definitely be killed. Lin Feng naturally would not do such a thing. Lin Feng sneered and said, Leave quickly. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Brat, I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, I'll let you die here today. The blue-clothed cultivator laughed sinisterly. Hee hee, I'll deal with this brat. The white-clothed cultivator sneered and stepped forward. Obviously, this person did not put Lin Feng in his eyes. Boom! The white-clothed cultivator punched towards Lin Feng. A thunderous sound rang out from the void. The white-clothed cultivator's strength was too terrifying. With a punch, there was a huge sonic boom. One could imagine how powerful this punch was. Lin Feng also attacked and punched towards the white-clothed cultivator. Bang! The two of them fiercely collided. In an instant, Lin Feng felt a terrifying force that could destroy everything enter his body. That terrifying force seemed to want to destroy all of his vitality. Lin Feng felt as if he had been struck by lightning and was directly sent flying. General! Lin Feng's body fiercely hit the rock wall. He felt intense pain all over his body, as if his bones were falling apart. This white-clothed cultivator was actually a general realm expert. Rumor had it that a cultivator at the first heaven of a general realm had a strength of 1 billion. A cultivator at this level would condense a dragon in his body. This strength of one dragon was equivalent to 1 billion gene of strength. As for Lin Feng, even if he fully activated his 3 devouring martial spirits, his strength was only 150 million. Compared to this white-clothed cultivator, the gap was too great. Lin Feng, how are you? When Ji Yuhan saw that Lin Feng had been blown away, her face turned deathly pale. She was extremely worried. I'm fine. Lin Feng shook his head. Eh? A brat in the martial master realm actually survived my attack? The white-clothed cultivator's face, Taoist, Taoist Lin. Taoist Lin Feng. Taoist. But Lin Feng's skill was the ancient Dracophant formula, a skill which defied the laws of the universe. Although his cultivation was still at the martial master realm, his physical body was strong. His physical body might even be stronger than a general realm cultivator. It was not inconceivable for him to be able to block the white-clothed cultivator's attack. However, in the eyes of outsiders, this kind of thing was too shocking. A general realm cultivator is not a big deal. Lin Feng said with a sneer. Brat, you still dare to be stubborn? The white-clothed cultivator's face suddenly darkened. The blue-clothed cultivator curled his lips and said, How much time will it take to deal with a martial master brat? If you can't do it, let me do it. I guarantee that I'll take his life in one move. Whether it was the blue-clothed cultivator or the white-clothed cultivator, it was obvious that they looked down on Lin Feng. They were all martial general realm experts, and Lin Feng was only a martial master. It was naturally as easy as crushing an ant for a general to deal with a martial master. As for Ji Yuhan and Dan Taixian, they were directly ignored by the blue-clothed cultivator and the white-clothed cultivator. They could naturally see that Ji Yuhan and Dan Taixian were injured and did not have much fighting strength. Brat, die. The white-clothed cultivator sneered. He did not want to waste time and wanted to get rid of Lin Feng as soon as possible. The white-clothed cultivator quickly rushed over and fiercely attacked Lin Feng with a powerful palm. Roar. The white-clothed cultivator's body actually emitted a dragon's roar. This was the strength of a dragon. It was a huge force of 1 billion jing. It was used by the white-clothed cultivator. Obviously, the white-clothed cultivator wanted to kill Lin Feng with one palm. Facing the white-clothed cultivator's terrifying attack, Lin Feng felt the aura of death. Pressure. An unprecedented pressure. This was the first time he was facing a general realm expert alone. Devouring martial spirit, spatial magnetic field. Lin Feng activated his devouring martial spirit and activated his 3 devouring martial spirits. The 3 spatial magnetic fields overlapped and directly enveloped the white-clothed cultivator. This is a martial spirit? There's such a strange martial spirit? The white-clothed cultivator was slightly surprised. Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit had an extremely strong sealing power. However, the white-clothed cultivator was too strong. Lin Feng's 3 spatial magnetic fields did not have much of an effect on him. The white-clothed cultivator stepped forward. He fiercely punched towards Lin Feng. Bang! The two of them collided again. This time, it was the same as the first time. Facing the white-clothed cultivator's terrifying attack of 1 billion jing, Lin Feng could not resist at all. He was sent flying again. Clang! Lin Feng fiercely crashed into the rock wall again. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his face was very pale. He's not dead yet? The white-clothed cultivator's face was extremely gloomy. The blue-clothed cultivator said impatiently, It's actually so troublesome to deal with a martial master ant. The white-clothed cultivator said in a deep voice, Don't underestimate this kid. This kid is a little strange. As soon as he finished speaking, the white-clothed cultivator quickly rushed out and instantly arrived in front of Lin Feng. He grabbed Lin Feng's neck and lifted him up, wanting to break Lin Feng's neck. Kid, it's time to end everything. The white-clothed cultivator laughed sinisterly, as if he could already see the scene of Lin Feng's neck being broken and dying miserably. Ah! Suddenly, the white-clothed cultivator let out a miserable scream. He hugged his head and screamed miserably. My head hurts so much. My head is going to split open. The white-clothed cultivator roared and screamed as if he had gone mad. This scene shocked everyone. No one knew what was going on. You're the one who's going to die. Lin Feng, who had struggled free from the white-clothed cultivator, laughed sinisterly and punched towards the white-clothed cultivator's chest. Bang! That powerful blow ruthlessly smashed into the white-robed cultivator's chest. Crack! Crack! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. The white-clothed cultivator's chest was directly caved in by Lin Feng's punch. The white-clothed cultivator flew backwards, spitting out a large mouthful of blood in midair. He fell to the ground dead. A martial general expert had been killed by Lin Feng with a single punch. Chapter 189. Lu Chang! The blue-clothed cultivator cried out in disbelief. The dead white-clothed cultivator was called Lu Chang, and he was a first heavenly layer martial general. Even if he was only a cultivator of the first celestial layer, he could easily crush Lin Feng, who was a cultivator of the Qi layer, like an ant. However, the one who died was Lu Chang. It was all because Lu Chang had suddenly hugged his head and screamed in pain for some reason. Whether it was the blue-clothed cultivator, Ji Yuhan, or Dan Taixian, they were all from great powers, so they naturally knew of some mysterious and strange soul techniques. Soul secret technique? You actually cultivated a soul secret technique. The blue-clothed cultivator looked at Lin Feng with killing intent. He seemed to be worried that Lin Feng would suddenly use a soul's secret technique to attack him. Therefore, he released his true qi and used it to protect his body. This way, he would be able to block Lin Feng's soul's secret technique. Take this corpse and get the hell away from me! Lin Feng looked coldly at the blue-clothed cultivator. The blue-clothed cultivator laughed sinisterly. Kid, you can only hurt me with your soul's secret technique. Now that I'm using my true qi to protect my body, how can you hurt me? How about this, let's make a deal. What deal? Lin Feng asked. Give me the soul's secret technique you cultivate, and I'll leave immediately, the blue-clothed cultivator said. Impossible. Lin Feng looked coldly at the blue-clothed cultivator. The soul sword secret technique was one of Lin Feng's supreme techniques, so he naturally would not teach it to others. Moreover, would the blue-clothed cultivator really let him go if he handed over the soul sword? In any case, Lin Feng did not believe the blue-clothed cultivator's words. It was not uncommon for cultivators to try and deceive each other. He had just handed over the cultivation method of the soul sword, and he might be attacked by the blue-clothed cultivator. A ferocious expression appeared on the blue-clothed cultivator's face. He laughed sinisterly and said, Brat, you really don't know what's good for you. Since that's the case, I'll personally capture you and torture you. I don't believe that you won't talk. As soon as he finished speaking, the blue-robed cultivator rushed towards Lin Feng with a sinister look on his face. Boom! The blue-clothed cultivator attacked with a punch at Lin Feng. This blue-clothed cultivator and the white-clothed cultivator killed by Lin Feng were both cultivators at the first firmament of the martial general realm. However, the blue-clothed cultivator seemed to be stronger. After witnessing Lin Feng kill off the white-clad cultivator, the blue-clad cultivator became very cautious. He used his primary energy to protect his body. Due to that, Lin Feng's secret soul technique became ineffective. The strength of soul secret techniques lay in the element of surprise, attacking the opponent when they were unprepared, harming the opponent's soul. Then, the attacker would suddenly burst out and kill the opponent. Now that the blue-clothed cultivator was on guard, it was very difficult to use soul's secret techniques to harm him. Triple spatial magnetic field. Lin Feng continued to use his magnetic field. Even though he couldn't completely imprison the general, he was still able to imprison him. However, it could greatly reduce the opponent's speed. Your martial soul is really not simple. It can actually slow down my speed, but it's useless. You won't be able to escape today. The blue-clothed cultivator laughed sinisterly and quickly attacked. Ji Yuhan and Dan Taixian were burning with anxiety. They wanted to help, but because of their injuries, they couldn't circulate their primary energy and couldn't help at all. Qiongqi's treasured technique. Lin Feng shouted in a low voice. In the next moment, the Qiongqi's treasured technique appeared. A gigantic Qiongqi ferocious beast condensed and fused together with Lin Feng. Lin Feng was supported by the power of the Qiongqi's treasured technique. Bang! He threw a punch at the blue-clothed cultivator. The two of them fiercely collided. The earth shook and the mountains shook. That tyrannical collision caused the earth to shake violently. Thump, 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 thump. This time, Lin Feng wasn't blown away, he was only pushed back 4 steps, that's all. With Lin Feng's current cultivation and the Qiongqi's treasured technique, he was able to block the blue-clothed cultivator's attack. You actually have so many top-notch moves. The blue-clothed cultivator's eyes were filled with greed. Human greed was nothing more than this. The blue-clothed cultivator wanted to obtain Lin Feng's secret techniques the most. He didn't stop and attacked Lin Feng again. He used the great dragon capturing hand and grabbed at Lin Feng. It was like an ancient divine eagle's sharp claws grabbing a giant dragon. Lin Feng had the feeling that he couldn't dodge the attack of the blue-clothed cultivator. Lin Feng was about to be captured by the blue-clothed cultivator. At this moment, a pair of golden wings appeared on Lin Feng's back. Lin Feng used the golden wings. Swoosh! Almost as if he had teleported, he disappeared in front of the blue-clothed cultivator. Previously, when dealing with two cultivators at the martial general realm, it was almost certain that he would lose. But now, one of them had died. Lin Feng believed that with all his methods, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with one of them alone. How is this possible? The blue-clothed cultivator cried out in disbelief. With his perception, he actually couldn't sense how Lin Feng disappeared. In the next moment, Lin Feng appeared behind the blue-clothed cultivator and punched at him. Behind. The blue-clothed cultivator was worthy of being a martial general realm expert. His perception was extremely strong. He instantly sensed Lin Feng behind him and quickly punched at Lin Feng. With a loud bang, Lin Feng and the blue-clothed cultivator clashed again. This time, Lin Feng was sent flying by the blue-clothed cultivator. Lin Feng's face darkened. This blue-clothed cultivator was too difficult to deal with. He had even used the golden wings, but he was still unable to defeat him. It could be seen how terrifying a martial general realm expert was. Brat, die! The blue-clothed cultivator laughed sinisterly and attacked again. However, Lin Feng's golden wings suddenly shook and he disappeared again as if he had teleported. Relying on the speed of the golden wings, Lin Feng and the blue-clothed cultivator fought dozens of rounds. Lin Feng's attacks were all resolved by the blue-clothed cultivator. Although the blue-clothed cultivator was extremely powerful, his speed couldn't keep up with Lin Feng at all. It was also very difficult for him to hurt Lin Feng. Lin Feng had been looking for an opportunity. After dodging the blue-clothed cultivator's attack again, the blue-clothed cultivator gasped for breath. After continuously attacking for dozens of rounds, the blue-clothed cultivator had consumed a lot of energy. Of course, Lin Feng had also consumed a lot of energy. It depended on who could last longer. Lin Feng finally found an opportunity. Now, the blue-clothed cultivator had consumed a lot of energy after a series of battles. His strength, speed, and perception were all rapidly declining. Lin Feng appeared behind the blue-clothed cultivator again. This time, he didn't attack the blue-clothed cultivator. Instead, he quickly used a spirit array technique. Spirit array techniques were used by spirit array masters to attack. Lin Feng hadn't learned many spirit array techniques, and most of them were simple auxiliary spirit array techniques, such as the clear water technique, the flame technique, and so on. However, Lin Feng had also learned a few good spirit array techniques. One of them was called the entanglement technique. At this time, Lin Feng used the entanglement technique. High up in the sky, a high number of divine runes connected together, absorbing worldly powers to transform into strands of energy. The strands of energy then shot towards the blue-robed cultivator. If the blue-robed cultivator was still at his peak, he would have been able to break or evade the strands of energy. However, he had exhausted himself from the previous battles. His perception had fallen sharply. Thus, he could only sense the strands of energy that were coiling around him. Spirit array technique? You're also a spirit array master? The blue-clothed cultivator cried out in disbelief. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. Spirit array masters were mysterious to cultivators. The blue-clothed cultivator wanted to tear apart the threads that wrapped around him, but Lin Feng didn't give him the chance. Lin Feng was too fast. He instantly arrived in front of the blue-clothed cultivator and punched towards his chest. Bang! The powerful punch ruthlessly smashed into the blue-clothed cultivator's chest. Kacha kacha! The blue-clothed cultivator's chest caved in and his body flew out. He spat out a large mouthful of blood in midair. His body slammed into the rock wall and fell to the ground. He was already dead. Before he died, his eyes were wide open in anger. It was as if he couldn't believe that he, a powerful martial general, had died at the hands of a martial master. Chapter 190. Huff, huff, huff! Lin Feng half knelt on the ground. After killing 2 Martial General Realm experts, he had used all his techniques. To him, this was an intense consumption of energy. Lin Feng felt as if all the energy in his body had been sucked dry, and he felt weak. This was the first time Lin Feng had truly clashed head-on with Martial General Realm experts. Furthermore, he had fought 2 Martial General Realm experts one after another. This kind of huge consumption was unimaginable. Lin Feng felt very tired. Not only was his body weak, but he also felt extremely exhausted mentally. After resting for a while, Lin Feng felt that he had recovered some of his strength. At this moment, Ji Yuhan and Dan Taixian were looking at Lin Feng in shock. It wasn't just because Lin Feng had killed 2 powerful Martial General Realm experts as a martial master. It was also because Lin Feng was a spiritual array master. From the way Lin Feng had used the spiritual array technique just now, Lin Feng's attainments in spiritual arrays should be quite profound. This was what made them feel incredulous. Spiritual array masters were extremely difficult to achieve. To be able to use the spiritual array technique so skillfully in a life and death battle at such a young age, this kind of ability was not something an ordinary person could possess. In the future, Lin Feng might become a spiritual array master that would shake the 3,000 prefectures. You guys hide. I will go and throw these 2 corpses outside. We can't leave them here. As Lin Feng spoke, he stood up and grabbed the corpses of the blue-clothed and white-clothed cultivators. Then, he quickly rushed into the distance. After 15 minutes, he returned. Then, Lin Feng moved a huge rock over and blocked the entrance of the mountain stream. He also hid in the mountain stream. The mountain stream was narrow and could only accommodate 3 people. Ji Yuhan was hiding in the deepest part, the beautiful woman was hiding in the middle, and Lin Feng was at the outermost part. His body and the beautiful woman's hot body were pressed together, and Lin Feng could even smell the alluring body fragrance coming from the beautiful woman's body. Through her thin clothes, he could even feel the softness of the beautiful woman's body. Lin Feng and the beautiful woman were slightly embarrassed, but the situation was special now, so they pretended as if nothing had happened. When night fell, the roars of beasts resounded through the clouds. Terrifying beasts appeared one after another, standing at the peak of the mountain and roaring at the sky. The undying mountain range stretched on endlessly. Right now, the roars of the beasts could be heard from countless directions. This had never happened before. Nightfall was the time when the undead army was most active. Now, the roars of beasts shook the sky. It was really strange. The woman asked, "Could it be that these beasts intend to wage war against the undead army?" When the beautiful woman spoke, she breathed out hot air on Lin Feng's neck, making Lin Feng feel restless. "It's said that the undead army suddenly appeared in a certain era. They didn't belong to the Undying Mountain Range, so their appearance naturally made the beasts of the Undying Mountain Range unhappy. Not to mention, the undead are like death gods, harvesting lives. Many beasts have died at the hands of the undead army, which made the beasts of the Undying Mountain Range even more unhappy," Lin Feng added. Later in the night, when the undead army appeared, an earth-shattering battle broke out. The undead army and the beasts of the Undying Mountain Range clashed, and the sky was about to be pierced through. Lin Feng admired Ji Yuhan. She was curled up in the deepest part of the mountain and had fallen asleep. Lin Feng and the beautiful woman didn't feel sleepy at all. They peered through the cracks in the rocks. The mountain stream was already very crowded. Lin Feng had the impression 2 mountains were pressing against his chest. They were bouncy and bouncy. Lin Feng had the impression 2 mountains were pressing against his chest. Lin Feng was at the age where he was full of vigor. Although he had had intimate contact with Shangguan Feier before, he hadn't crossed the line. The only time he had truly interacted with a woman at such a close distance. It had to be traced back to the night when the 4 great clans of Qingyun City were fighting. Lin Feng had forcefully ravaged Suyueshi. After tasting the forbidden fruit for the first time, he had never experienced that kind of nervousness and excitement again. It was as if he had ascended to the clouds. The beautiful woman in front of him was definitely the kind of woman who could arouse the most primitive desires in his heart. The beautiful woman was still looking outside. Lin Feng's hand slowly reached out and began to caress her. "What are you doing?" The beautiful woman's face immediately reddened. Only now did she notice that her body was completely pressed against Lin Feng's. This position was extremely awkward. The beautiful woman also seemed to sense the changes in Lin Feng's body. That caused her face to turn even redder. Huff, huff! Lin Feng was panting heavily as he pressed the beautiful woman against the wall, blocking her red lips and ravaging her. The beautiful woman struggled. However, she did not dare to move too much. That was because Ji Yuhan was right beside them. Although Ji Yuhan was asleep, if she was disturbed, how could she face anyone? The beautiful woman was unable to struggle free, and allowed Lin Feng to ravage her. Lin Feng started to become even more brazen. When the sound of clothes tearing came from below, the beautiful woman panicked. Naturally, she knew what Lin Feng wanted to do. He actually wanted to do it here. As she thought of that, the beautiful woman tried to push Lin Feng away. However, it was clear that the space was too small. The beautiful woman was unable to resist the violent and barbaric Lin Feng. To the beautiful woman, she had never imagined that such a day would come. In such a place, there was a young lady beside them. As for her, she was being ravaged by a young man who was much younger than her. After an unknown amount of time, everything was calm. Outside, the battle between the beasts and the undead army was still ongoing. After the initial feeling of flying into the clouds, the beautiful woman was in a daze. Her expression was extremely complicated. She could not imagine that the woman who had started to cater to Lin Feng would be her. Shouldn't she have been rejecting him? What's that smell? It smells so bad. Ji Yuhan woke up and wrinkled her nose with a puzzled expression. The beautiful woman's face was so red that it was almost dripping blood. She stammered, not knowing how to answer. Ji Yuhan was very good at reading people's expressions. She looked at the beautiful woman suspiciously. Lin Feng said, "Perhaps it drifted here from somewhere else." Ji Yuhan was very simple and did not think too much about it. Hearing the earth-shaking roars outside, Ji Yuhan asked in shock, "What's happening outside?" "The beasts and the undead army are fighting," Lin Feng said. Ji Yuhan's red lips parted slightly, looking very surprised. It was a very restless night. The surviving cultivators had all gone into hiding, not daring to come out in the middle of the night. The battle between the undead army and the beasts was obviously very fierce. Both sides fought for an entire night. It was only when the sky gradually brightened that the roars of the beasts and the undead army gradually dissipated. Finally, the undead army left. The beasts also went into hibernation. After the terrifying battle last night, the beasts needed to rest and recuperate. Chapter 191. In the ancient forest, Lin Feng and the other two were hurrying along. Basically, only Lin Feng and Ji Yuhan communicated, or Ji Yuhan communicated with the beautiful woman. Lin Feng and the beautiful woman didn't communicate at all. After last night's craziness, the two of them seemed to be a little embarrassed. Of course, Lin Feng was thoroughly satisfied. As for the beautiful woman, she was naturally satisfied as well. However, as a woman, she was forcefully ravaged by Lin Feng, although her body couldn't resist and began to cooperate. However, she couldn't get over the psychological barrier. However, the beautiful woman was also somewhat puzzled. She had been forcefully ravaged by Lin Feng again and again. Why didn't she hate him? Along the way, Lin Feng and the other two could be considered lucky. Although they encountered some dangers, they were able to avoid them. At this moment, they arrived at the last mountain peak. When they climbed to the top of the mountain, they could vaguely see the scene outside. "After crossing the last mountain, we'll be out," Lin Feng said. Ji Yuhan said, "What a pity, I didn't even see the legendary immortal medicine of immortality." Rumor had it that the immortal medicine of immortality existed in the Undying Mountain range, but it was obvious that the immortal medicine of immortality wouldn't appear so easily. The Undying Mountains have a total of 99 mountains, and we've only been in the outermost 9. The dangers we've encountered so far aren't particularly frightening. If we had gone deeper into the mountains, we would have died before even walking a dozen meters. It's said that only great saints can escape death in those places. Otherwise, even emperors from ancient dynasties and holy leaders from ancient holy lands would die. If there really were immortal medicines of immortality, they would be in the most dangerous places. Lin Feng said. Don't ask for the immortal medicine of immortality. Actually, being able to leave alive is already very lucky. The 3 of them continued on their way. In front of them, a huge cliff appeared, blocking their path. I'll take you there, Lin Feng said. No, it's forbidden to fly here, especially the cliffs of the Immortal Mountain Range. I saw a strong cultivator try to fly over one of the cliffs, but because it's forbidden to fly, he fell into the depths of the cliff and died, said Lin Feng. The beautiful woman said. However, when she spoke, her pretty face was pink, and she still didn't dare to look at Lin Feng. Looking at the beautiful woman's tender, alluring, and charming appearance, Lin Feng discovered that he seemed to have developed that kind of desire. It had to be said that this beautiful woman was truly alluring. There's a stone bridge over there. Ji Yuhan suddenly pointed to a spot not far away. Lin Feng and the beautiful woman's eyes lit up. Let's go, we'll cross the bridge, Lin Feng said. The 3 of them arrived before the stone bridge. Lin Feng inspected the stone bridge and found that it was sturdy enough. The 3 of them stepped onto the stone bridge and walked towards the opposite shore. But at this moment, a terrifying aura surged out from the bottom of the cliff. Following that, endless black fog swept over. The entire cliff was shrouded in black fog. Seeing this scene, the expressions of Lin Feng and the other 2 changed greatly. Something's wrong, run! Lin Feng shouted. Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman's expressions also changed as they quickly ran towards the opposite shore. At this moment, within the endless black fog, a terrifying existence flew up from the bottom of the abyss. It was wrapped in the black fog. It was impossible to see what kind of existence it was. They could only see a huge and demonic green eye. In the endless black fog, they could only see a pair of eyes that were so evil that it made their souls tremble. However, it was clear that this was a terrifying creature born from the black fog. What is this? The beautiful woman's face was pale. When she saw the demonic eyes in the black fog, she felt her legs tremble. It was as if she couldn't take another step forward. Rock Giant Demon, it's the legendary Rock Giant Demon. I've read about it in an ancient scripture, said Lin Feng. Ji Yuhan said with a pale face. That scripture had recorded how terrifying the rock trolls were. Legend had it that the ancient rock trolls were terrifying creatures born from the endless darkness. In the ancient era, the rock trolls had hunted the gods and consumed them as food. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the rock trolls were. This is the rock trolls? Lin Feng's face was filled with shock. The classic of mountains and seas recorded all kinds of divine beasts, vicious beasts, and strange beasts. There was a chapter on the rock trolls. However, there was no picture of the rock trolls in the classic of mountains and seas. Because the rock trolls were too mysterious, the classic of mountains and seas didn't have any specific records of them. The rock trolls were terrifying ancient devils born from the endless darkness. They could devour the stars and kill gods. If one encountered them, one had to flee. Quick, let's go! Shouted Lin Feng. Hearing Lin Feng's shout, Ji Yuhan and Ji Yuhan recovered. Only then did Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman return to their senses and quickly run towards the opposite shore. Lin Feng ran behind them. Roar! The rock trolls let out a deep roar, and an endless black fog swept over them. Suddenly, the rolling black fog turned into an incomparably terrifying vicious beast. It opened its bloody mouth and tried to swallow Lin Feng's group. I'm here. Don't even think about crossing. Lin Feng pulled out the black dragon sword. He held it with both hands. Endless power poured into the black dragon sword. Buzz! At that moment, the black dragon sword seemed to sense danger. The dragon marks on the sword came to life. The dragon runes transformed into black dragons that swam around the black dragon's sword. Lin Feng felt the black dragon sword's power. He felt that if he slashed down with the sword, the world would be split apart. The black dragon's sword had awakened. Was this the true power of the black dragon's sword? Slash! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. His sword moved towards the gigantic beast. Buzz! 100 zhang long sword chi condensed and fiercely bombarded the giant beast. With a loud bang, the black dragon's sword's attack dissipated the giant beast into nothingness. The 100 zhang long sword chi then bombarded the rock trolls. Roar! The rock trolls let out an angry roar. However, the rock trolls couldn't withstand the attack of the revived black dragon sword and were knocked down the cliff. Lin Feng let out a long breath and quickly ran towards the opposite shore. At that moment, Ji Yuhan and the beautiful woman had already run over. They also let out a long breath when they saw Lin Feng repelling the rock trolls. But at that moment, from the cliff, a long tentacle quickly flew up. It was the tentacle of the rock trolls that had fallen into the abyss. The tentacle directly wrapped around Lin Feng's ankle. No! Ji Yuhan screamed in horror. She reached out to grab Lin Feng's hand. Live! Lin Feng murmured. In the next moment, he was pulled into the endless dark world by the tentacle of the rock trolls. Chapter 192. He fell into an endless abyss. Lin Feng realized that he couldn't fly. It was just as the beautiful woman had said. This was a space where flying was prohibited. No one could fly here. Moreover, Lin Feng's ankles were still entangled by the tentacles. He couldn't struggle at all. Clang! With a dull thud, Lin Feng slammed into the ground. He even smashed a huge crater in the ground. Cough, cough! He felt excruciating pain all over his body. A few of his bones seemed to have been broken, but Lin Feng didn't die from the fall. If it had been anyone else, they would have been smashed into meat paste after falling from such a high place. However, Lin Feng was different. He cultivated the Archean dragon-esque elephant technique. Lin Feng's physical body was too strong, surpassing that of primordial god-fiends of the same level. Therefore, even though he was severely injured, he still managed to survive. Lin Feng climbed out of the crater. In the distance, within the flames, an evil eye looked at Lin Feng. Roar! A low roar sounded. Rock troll! Lin Feng was shocked. His face turned pale. This was the territory of the rock troll. Now that he was trapped here, he was probably doomed. Clang! The rock troll charged at Lin Feng, the sound of chains clanging against each other. What's this? Lin Feng was stupefied. He saw that there were 18 chains in the middle of the black fog. There was a gigantic beast locked in place. The rock troll is locked up here? Was he imprisoned here? Lin Feng was shocked. He instantly thought of a possibility. This made Lin Feng extremely shocked. The rock troll had hunted gods for food in ancient times. Such a terrifying existence was actually imprisoned in the undying mountain range. What kind of level was needed to imprison an ancient rock troll? What had attacked the three of them just now was clearly not the rock troll's true body, because the rock troll's true body was still imprisoned at the bottom of the cliff. That should have been an energy clone of the rock troll. If it had been the rock troll's true body, even if the black dragon sword had been revived, it would have been impossible to block that blow. Lin Feng endured the pain and retreated. The rock troll said in a sinister voice, "Despicable human ant, I can feel the fear in your heart. I'm going to eat you." Swish! A tentacle stretched out and quickly wrapped around Lin Feng. Slash! Lin Feng wielded the black dragon sword and slashed at the tentacle. Clang, clang, clang. The rock golem's tentacles were extremely terrifying. They were like divine weapons, and Lin Feng's black dragon sword couldn't cut through them. What was even more despairing was, the next moment, more than a dozen tentacles stretched out. Seeing this, Lin Feng's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Even a single tentacle was difficult to deal with. Not to mention a dozen tentacles? Bead, come out and help me! Lin Feng knew that he was no match for the rock troll, even if the rock troll's true body was bound by 18 chains and could not escape. Even so, if the rock troll wanted to deal with him, it would be a piece of cake. If he wanted to fight against the rock troll, he could only rely on the bead. Lin Feng knew how terrifying the bead was. Back then, the fire qilin was so powerful, but didn't the bead instantly devour all of its divine power? However, no matter how Lin Feng called out, the bead did not respond. Damn it! Lin Feng gritted his teeth in anger. At this critical moment, the bead actually dropped the ball. He couldn't count on the bead at all. Now, more than a dozen tentacles were about to wrap around him. The situation was extremely dangerous. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lin Feng was finally unable to resist the entanglement of the tentacles. He was entangled by the densely packed tentacles, and those tentacles quickly pulled Lin Feng towards the rock troll. It's over! Lin Feng's face turned pale. Facing an ancient rock troll, he couldn't fight it at all. There was only deep despair. There was no hope of escape. Not to mention Lin Feng, even if a god came, facing this rock troll, he would probably die. When Lin Feng was beside the rock troll, he realized that these tentacles were not a part of the rock troll's body, but were just illusions formed by the rock troll's breath. Lin Feng finally saw the rock troll's appearance clearly. This rock troll was over 100 meters tall, and its entire body was blue. It looked like an incomparably massive blue scorpion. It had a barbed tail and 2 giant pincers. Its body didn't seem to be made of flesh and blood, but seemed to be made of stone. It was extremely strange. This was the legendary rock troll that hunted gods for food. At this moment, the rock troll opened its bloody mouth, wanting to swallow Lin Feng in one gulp. Dangerous, extremely dangerous. Lin Feng was facing a life and death crisis. Suddenly, Lin Feng remembered that he still had a treasure. The sacred royal stone. The sacred royal stone that the fire qilin had given to him was rumored to have been stained with the blood of an ancient sacred royal. Back then, countless experts fought for it. The fire qilin had fought hard to get the sacred royal stone. This sacred royal stone was extremely strange. Back then, it had almost controlled the fire qilin. It was because the sacred royal stone was too strange that the fire qilin had given this hot potato to Lin Feng. When Lin Feng saw the sacred royal stone for the first time, he felt that his mind was almost controlled by the sacred royal stone. From this, it could be seen how strange this sacred royal stone was. Now, at this moment of life and death, Lin Feng thought of the sacred royal stone. Could he use this strange sacred royal stone to deal with the rock troll? Thinking of this, Lin Feng took out the sacred royal stone. He grabbed the sacred royal stone and held it in front of him. The rock troll looked at the sacred royal stone in surprise. Ah! Suddenly, the rock troll let out a shrill cry. The rock troll was affected by the sacred royal stone. Bzzz. The sacred royal stone broke free from Lin Feng's hand and flew towards the rock troll. Bang! The sacred royal stone hit the rock troll and sent it flying away. The tentacles disappeared, and Lin Feng was free. The sacred royal stone floated in the air, releasing a terrifying twisting force that enveloped the rock troll. Ah! My lifespan! It's stealing my lifespan! Screamed the rock troll in terror. The sacred royal stone was too strange. It was stealing the rock troll's lifespan. The rock troll was strong enough to send the sacred royal stone flying away with one claw. The sacred royal stone flew back to Lin Feng. Lin Feng grabbed it, but something terrible happened. The sacred royal stone started stealing Lin Feng's lifespan again. Lin Feng was horrified. He quickly put the sacred royal stone into his spirit ring. The sacred royal stone was too strange. It couldn't tell friend from foe. Of course, perhaps in the sacred royal stone's eyes, Lin Feng was the same as the fire qilin. He was the target of the sacred royal stone. Huff! Huff! Both the rock troll and Lin Feng were gasping for breath. The rock troll looked at Lin Feng with deep fear. Just now, the sacred royal stone had been crazily devouring its lifespan. The rock troll couldn't resist at all. Chapter 193. Brat, do you think you can escape by relying on this strange stone? Let me tell you, there's no way. I'll eat you today! The rock troll roared as it stared at Lin Feng, its evil eyes filled with killing intent. However, it did not act immediately. It was clearly wary of the Sage Emperor Stone. Lin Feng said, "Let's see if you can eat me first, or if the Sage Emperor Stone will steal your lifespan first." The rock troll sneered. "Do you think I can't tell? That strange stone isn't a treasure you can control, and you can't control it at all. It's even devouring your lifespan. If you want to use it against me, let's see who dies first." Lin Feng thought to himself. As expected of an old monster that had lived for countless years, the rock troll's eyes were extremely sharp. It had seen through the Sage Emperor Stone with a single glance. Things were going to be a little troublesome. Trying to trick the rock troll was obviously not realistic. If the rock troll was determined to deal with him, he wouldn't be able to stop it. Of course, Lin Feng knew that the rock troll was hesitating as well. The rock troll was actually worried about the Sage Emperor Stone. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes as he looked at the rock troll bound by 18 chains. He suddenly thought of a saying. In the art of war, attacking a city is inferior, and attacking its heart is superior. This meant that if one wanted to capture a city, attacking the city directly was the inferior strategy. Attacking its heart was the superior strategy. If one could attack its heart, they would be able to capture the city without expending a single soldier. Now, it seemed that this was a very suitable strategy to deal with the rock troll. The rock troll had been bound by 18 chains for who knew how many years, so it definitely wanted to break free. However, it was obvious that the rock troll couldn't break free by relying on its own strength. If someone helped it, perhaps it could succeed. Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile. He looked at the rock troll and asked, "Rock troll, how long have you been trapped here?" The rock troll looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, 100,000 years. Why? Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. As expected of a terrifying race that could hunt down deities, it had actually been trapped here for 100,000 years. Then, how long had this rock troll lived? If a human cultivator wanted to live for 100,000 years, they would have to reach the level of a god. Otherwise, don't even think about it. Lin Feng said. 100,000 years. Trapped here for 100,000 years. Presumably, for someone as powerful as you, 100,000 years is a long time. Have you ever thought of leaving this place one day? Escape from this life of endless imprisonment? The rock troll sneered. Boy, don't waste your time. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Aren't you just saying that you'll come and rescue me when you're strong enough? This emperor has seen many people like you. You want to save this emperor with your lowly existences? What a fool! Lin Feng said. Others might not be able to do it, but for me, saving you isn't that difficult. The rock troll sneered. I've seen many humans, but I've never seen a brat as arrogant as you. A low-level cultivator who hasn't even reached the martial general realm dares to boast shamelessly about saving this emperor? This is the funniest joke I've heard in the past 100,000 years. Ha ha. Lin Feng suddenly burst into laughter. The rock troll was stunned. He didn't know why Lin Feng was laughing. The rock troll stared coldly at Lin Feng and asked, What are you laughing at? Lin Feng said, I'm laughing at you, rock troll. You've been wise all your life, but you've made a decision that you'll regret for the rest of your life. The rock troll sneered. How arrogant. No matter how you look at it, you don't seem like someone who can save this emperor. Why would this emperor regret? Rock troll, look. Lin Feng took a step forward and began to activate the archaic dragonesque elephant technique. Roar. Behind Lin Feng, the phantom of an archaic dragonesque elephant appeared. The archaic dragonesque elephant stepped on the sky, and with a loud roar, the entire Milky Way shook. What? What? How is this possible? This can't be real. Seeing the phantom of the archaic dragon-esque elephant, the rock troll roared in disbelief. With the rock troll's strength and knowledge, he should be able to recognize the legendary archaic dragon-esque elephant. The rock troll recovered from his initial shock. He looked at Lin Feng in disbelief and said, "Archaic dragon-esque elephant. That's the phantom of the archaic dragon-esque elephant. What technique did you cultivate? You can actually manifest the archaic dragon-esque elephant?" In the immemorial era, there were many strong people. There were even holy emperors who had the power to shake the universe. However, no matter how strong the other strong people were, there was one mountain that could never be crossed. That was the archaic dragon-esque elephant. The archaic dragon-esque elephant ruled the heavens, and the holy emperors bowed to it. There was once a holy emperor who was not convinced by the archaic dragon-esque elephant, and challenged it, but he was defeated by the archaic dragon-esque elephant. There were once 9 ancient holy emperors who wanted to slay the archaic dragon-esque elephant. As long as they could slay the archaic dragon-esque elephant, the ancient holy emperors would be invincible. However, the 9 holy emperors were defeated by the archaic dragon-esque elephant when they joined forces. In that battle, the archaic dragon-esque elephant slayed 5 ancient holy emperors, and the remaining 4 holy emperors willingly acknowledged the archaic dragon-esque elephant as their master. Only then did they survive. From this, one could see how terrifying the archaic dragon-esque elephant was. The archaic dragon-esque elephant was a taboo in the hearts of countless strong people. It was a name that no one dared to mention. Even the ancient holy emperors would feel fear at the mention of the archaic dragon-esque elephant. However, the archaic dragon-esque elephant would also age one day. After the archaic dragon-esque elephant passed away, it was rumored that the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique was passed down. In order to fight for the Archean dragon-esque elephant art, an unprecedented Archean god-fiend great war broke out. That battle, gods perished and demons perished. Countless strong existences fell one after another. The archaic dragon-esque elephant technique, which was known as the number 1 immemorial taboo theurgy, also disappeared in that battle. From then on, the number 1 immemorial taboo theurgy, the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique, was lost. Of course, this also made many major forces heave a sigh of relief. The loss of the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique meant that no one would be able to obtain it. It was better than one person obtaining it, right? Whoever obtained the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique might become the second archaic dragon-esque elephant in the future, invincible in the heavens. This was something that no one wanted to see. That's right. It's just as you imagined. I cultivate the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique, Lin Feng said. Hiss. Even the powerful rock troll was shocked. It muttered, "The archaic dragon-esque elephant technique has reappeared in the world. The heavens are about to change." Lin Feng shouted, "Rock troll, do you still think that I can't save you?" "Ha ha! The archaic dragon-esque elephant technique is the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique. Ha ha ha, you're the descendant of the ancient Draco elephant. Of course you can save me. All right, we've reached an agreement today. I won't kill you, but in the future you'll release me. Of course, I won't let you suffer losses. I can tell you a great secret, it's a great opportunity. If you can seize it, you'll become even more incredible in the future," the rock troll said. "What secret?" Lin Feng was shocked. "The secret of the heavenly flames,"